Hi everyone, I'm Kimbyrleigha and this is Kimbyrleigha Live. If it's your first time here, it's nice to finally meet you. I do have a true crime channel here on YouTube. We're almost at 500,000 subscribers, and I have a video podcast with my husband called Dark Livity. Those are solved true crime narratives. If you're into that kind of thing, you should check it out below in the description box. But on this channel, I recap and talk about current cases and trials that are ongoing. And today, I know I'm a little bit behind, but I am recapping day 4 of the Raul Valle case, the murder of James Thomas Jimmy McGrath. So if you haven't watched my recap and summary of this entire case, you may want to check that out before jumping in. I know a lot of you are following with the recaps, so you're not actually watching the trial, but you're coming here day to day, and I really appreciate that and watching the recaps. But today is going to be intense because we are going to be hearing from all 3 of the surviving victims of the stabbing that occurred on May 14th, 2022, going into the 15th, starting with probably my favorite witness thus far, Faison Teal. He's so genuine, quite funny, and I gravitate towards humorous people myself. But in all seriousness, let's talk about who Faison Teal is. He's currently 20. He's at the University of New Haven, and he was 17 at the time this incident occurred. He was in high school. He played football, and first on that night, he went to a surprise birthday party and then to Tyler Rich's house around 10 or 10:15. By the way, is my audio good? Because I always go and then I'm like, wait a minute, I haven't even asked to chat. And I know this is a midday live, so you're probably catching this on the replay. I appreciate that so very much. But Faison said he consumed 2 beers at the first party and then 2 Bud Lights at Tyler's house. He denied bringing alcohol to Tyler's house. Instead, he said that he bummed a couple beers off someone. That was his words. And then he went down to the basement, kind of like everybody else. I'm recapping the things that are similar to what other people said so that we're not saying the same thing over and over again, and listening to testimony that's pretty, in line with what other people said. Usually I highlight things that are different and new, something we haven't heard before. But he said it was very ordinary. He was wearing a black Marvel duck shirt that we saw on day 1. If you're wondering, he is who was wearing that shirt. It was brought out as evidence in this case in the beginning, and he said that Griffin and Ryan arrived about 15 to 20 minutes after he got there, and they told him that something happened to Ryan at the house they were at on Lazy Brook between him and a group of St. Joe's high school students. He said that he wasn't initially aware of any group chat, but Tanner mentioned that there had been some uninvited individuals that were going to arrive. But he didn't know much of it because he wasn't in the group chat. And of course, that group of people who arrived uninvited were the St. Joe's kids that had an altercation with Ryan at the previous house. They came out to Tyler Rich's house to fight. They were told to come there by Griffin in that group chat. So now there was a little bit of a different reason that Faison himself came out to see who was there when the Honda Pilot pulled up. And I'm going to let you hear him tell you, because I don't think it's going to do it justice when you hear it from me. But I just thought it was adorable, so I wanted to play it for you. So let's start there, and then we're going to jump into a lot of serious things. But you know what? A lot of times we use humor in very intense moments, and I think the delivery of how this went down was really good. But here we go. And let me know if the volume and everything is good. I'm going to be listening in my headphones just in case, so I can follow along. Here we go.
Before
maybe about 5 minutes.
Okay, and when those individuals showed up to Tyler Rich's house, how were you made aware that they showed up to the house?
So someone, I do not recall who said, but someone said people were pulling up the ties, and obviously I don't know what they was talking about. But
and when they said that, what if anything did you do as a result of that?
Well, I also was told that they had McDonald's, so me, I'm a big kid, so I was hungry. So
so you were made aware that they had McDonald's, you were hungry.
Yeah.
So at some point in time, did you?
I just thought that was adorable, and I had to include it. He's funny. I love food too. I would probably be out there if someone said a delivery was happening. I think his friends might have been messing with him to get him to come outside, but in all seriousness, what happened next was no laughing matter. He explained that he approached the car. He asked about the McDonald's. He realized that wasn't why the group was there, and then he witnessed the arguing start. So let's jump into that.
Describe to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury what happened when your car returned.
So when the car returned, The car returned. 2 individuals got out of the motor vehicle, and they came up to us around the front of the Rich's house. And when they came up,
I'm going to show you stage 4.
yeah.
Can you show me on stage 4 where they came up?
When they came up, yes. So
Just describe it.
just describe it. It's towards the grass, like kind of near the red bush.
So this red bush, did it come up the street here?
Yeah.
And at what point when the car was driving up here, did you see the 2 individuals get out?
When they were parked, when the car was stopped.
You remember where the car parked, or where the car stopped?
Yes.
Where?
It was on the side, like where the grass is. Like,
Stage 52. Can you show on stage 52 where you recall the car stopped?
where I recall the car stopped.
Okay, so somewhere over here?
Yeah, somewhere over here.
Okay. That the record can reflect it's the
So he's now showing where the car is, but again, we're going to hear for the maybe even the 4th or 5th time. I'm not really sure how many times it's happened. We are going to hear that he was telling people in the car to leave. So I thought that was important. I want to go back because I was like, wait a minute, did we miss something? I feel like he said it back here. Right? Let's see. Sorry about that. I have to remember
About 4 people in the vehicle.
all these timestamps.
You only saw about 4 people? Do
Yes.
you know if there were anybody else in the vehicle?
No, I do not know.
And did you recognize anybody in the vehicle that night?
Yes.
Who did you recognize?
Mackenzie Traficante.
And who else? Did you recognize anybody else?
No.
Who is Mackenzie Traficante?
Girl from Shelton.
And how do you know her?
I know her. I went to middle school with her.
And when you approached the car, did you have a conversation with anybody in the car?
At first, yeah.
Who did you have a conversation with?
I believe it was the driver because I was asking about the McDonald's, and then after that, I really backed off. I wasn't.
So you were asking about McDonald's to the
Yeah.
driver and you backed off?
Yeah, like they said, he was like, "No, we don't got a McDonald's," and I was like, "All right." So I really I was off towards the side after that, just like chilling, but I was so close to the car, like I wasn't like far away.
When you were initially talking to the driver, were you having? Did you indicate anything else to him other than whether or not he had McDonald's? Did you say anything else to him?
No.
And after you spoke to the driver, you said you moved away from the car.
Yeah.
Did you observe anything happen between your friends and the car while you were out there?
Yes, I did.
What did you observe?
So they started like arguing while they was like near the car, and then that's where I got closer and I started like screaming like, "Yo, y'all gotta leave! Like y'all gotta dip!" And
What
then,
did you say? You guys got to leave?
Yeah, gotta leave. Yeah.
Okay. And what else did you say to them?
Oh, you're like y'all gotta dip. Like that's like another.
What does that mean?
That's another term for like leaving.
Okay.
So we're hearing another person say, they told the people in the car to leave. He used the word dip. And I was like, that's a throwback to my time in the 2000s. But he explains the car drove off. Then it came back. He said a beer was thrown and he heard a shatter. Could have been the windshield, right? The car stopped farther down the street and Faison didn't witness what happened there, but saw others go down to confront the group. After this, his friends returned. Faison said he dapped them up, his words, he was high-fiving them and celebrating them from running people off. But then the car returned. So we're going to hear something about that in a minute. Let's see where we are. Sorry, my keyboard's all crazy.
Okay. And when you were, did you have an interaction with the defendant when you were close to him?
Yes.
And what was that interaction like?
I said y'all gotta leave and get out of here.
And what was the defense reaction to you saying he had to leave?
Like, just like disregarded.
And did he argue with you?
Not me personally, no.
Was he arguing with anybody?
Yes.
What was he doing?
They was just standing there and they was bickering with Tyler Rich, like arguing with him.
It's how long would you say the arguing back and forth lasted for?
Like 30 seconds, if that.
After 30 seconds, did something happen?
Yes.
What happened?
A punch was thrown.
Do you recall who threw that punch?
Yes, I do.
Who threw that punch?
Tyler Rich.
And do you recall why he threw that punch?
No, I don't recall why.
Right before the punch was thrown, were you close to the defendant?
Yes.
And do you recall who out of your friends was near you at the time?
No, I do not recall, besides Tyler Rich.
Do you know Ty Wood?
Yes, I know Tyler Wood.
Do you recall if Ty Wood was near you?
Yes, he was outside with us.
Was he near you
Yeah,
when the punch was thrown?
Yes.
And you say you know Tommy Connory?
Yes.
Was Tommy Connory close to you at the time or no?
Not really. He was a bit like behind me.
Okay.
Per se.
How about Charlie Connory? Was Charlie near you at the time?
Not too close to me, no.
Now, when the punch was thrown, do you recall who got hit?
Yes.
Who got hit?
Tyler Silva.
Tyler got hit?
Yes.
And when that happened, did the fight start?
Yes.
And describe what happened when the fight started.
So when the fight started, Tyler and De Silva went to the ground, and they was over there like towards this area right here.
And where were you in relation to 52?
Right here. I was like around here, this area for a little bit.
Okay. So it's around you.
By the way, it's really hard for him to talk about this. There was one point where he got a little choked up before he started talking about what happened. I didn't catch that in the clip that I just played, but this is not easy. And he'll get into more of that.
The tree?
Yeah, near the tree, yes.
And did you participate in the fight?
Yes, I did.
What did you do during the fight?
I was throwing some kicks,
Okay, what kind of kicks?
like stomps.
Were they hard? Were they soft? What kind of?
They weren't too hard.
Okay. Why did you do that?
Why did I do that? Because these individuals, they came on the Tyler versus property uninvited, trying to cause an issue.
Okay. Now, at some point in time, did you stop engaging in the fight?
Yeah.
Why did you do that?
Because I was like, it was time to start breaking up the fight.
How long would you say it lasted for, your interaction?
My interaction, like 20 seconds, if that.
And when that was going on, were you closer to Tyler De Silva or the defendant?
I did not recall.
But you were involved in the fight?
Yes, I was.
At some point in time, tell us what happens after you stop fighting. You stop fighting.
After I stopped fighting, stopped fighting, at first I see Tommy Connery on the ground, like with his legs. It's like he couldn't move.
Why couldn't he move?
He was stabbed. And
What did you observe about Tommy?
like he was laying on the grass, like he like couldn't move at all, and there was just blood coming from his legs. And then I looked over to the right of him, and I seen Jimmy, like just sitting there bleeding out, and Sal and Jacob were like trying to help him. And then after that, someone came up to me with a flashlight, and it was like, Faison, your arm. And all I saw was like a big piece of fat like hanging out of my arm, and just blood like bleeding down the side of me.
Do you recall being stabbed that night?
No, I do not recall.
How incredibly traumatic would that be for anyone? But for a teenager, having to witness these brutal injuries and then realize that you are also a victim. They were on the ground fighting. He was stomping. He admits that. And then he realizes that Jimmy is bleeding, that Tommy is immobile. He's bleeding from his legs. And then he sees this piece of fat hanging from his own arm. He didn't even know that he'd been stabbed. I cannot imagine. It's so scary. Now, this was the day before and the court ended, so you're going to see him change outfits. So if you're like, whoa, that's what happened. I didn't want to play this last video because I wanted to be cohesive. I wanted him to be on the stand. Let's hear all of his testimony. But they picked back up the next day with Faison making his way back to the witness stand. If you hear screaming, I told you there's a band recording here right behind me. That's a sound booth. And they have some screaming in their songs. That is not part of this video. But before realizing his injury, he is seeing his friends profusely bleeding and others trying to help. So we're going to jump right in to the next day. You can see he's wearing a different shirt. And we're going to hear what happened that night.
Realized you were injured and you saw Tommy and Jimmy. What did you do after that?
So when I realized I was injured, I was with my friend Benjamin Catley, and I went into Tyler's bathroom to try to clean me up because there was so much blood on the side of my body. They thought like I might have got stabbed on my side, but that wasn't the case, obviously. So it was me, him, and Danny Rivera in the bathroom, just cleaning myself up, like trying to like figure stuff out, trying to like find something to wrap my arm up with. And then after that, we went back outside, and there was cops there, ambulances there, and that's when they brought Jimmy to the hospital first. Then it was Tommy. And then after that, because at first I wasn't really trying to go to the hospital because I thought I was fine. And I didn't want my parents to get mad at me for like getting stabbed or whatever. But I wasn't trying to go to the hospital. But then
He still has humor. And I really appreciate that. He didn't want to get in trouble for getting stabbed that night.
they told me I had to go. So I went after that.
So he ends up going. He's kind of hesitant. He doesn't want to go to the hospital. A lot of people don't want to go to the hospital. He didn't want to get in trouble. Can you imagine? You don't think that your child who you send out for a night at his friend's house is going to get stabbed. Now we're going to see that video again, and he's going to point himself out. I had not seen him in the video before he pointed himself out, so I'm glad he did that because it gives us context.
Do you know what you're doing at this moment in the fight?
I know, Cuff. It was a breast cancer awareness bracelet, right? I couldn't tell. I thought that's the one you were talking about, but I noticed every little thing. I noticed the cross. His dad is a pastor. He's going to talk about it, his faith and how it was impacted. It's going to be really intense, really, really intense.
There's definitely throwing some kicks right there at the beginning and then trying to break it up after.
And
oh my goodness. Remember, when this video plays, it's usually really loud. I'm trying to control it here, but I might not get everyone, so just be careful of your headphones.
watch the regular version of the video.
Yes, sir.
Lightened up version. I want to ask you a few questions.
Yes.
Yes, sir!
Now, the person that yells, yes, sir, do you know who that is?
Yes.
Who is that?
That's Tanner Chernowski.
And who's the person that, after Tanner Chernowski yells, yes, sir, who's the person that says, let's go?
Let's go. That was me.
Okay. You were yelling that?
Yeah.
Why were you yelling?
So wait, like the whole, I don't know. It was just what I was saying at the time when I said let's go N-word.
Okay.
It's just the way I talk.
Okay. And when you heard in the video, he's got a knife, you didn't hear that?
At that time there, nah, I didn't hear that.
Do you know who said that, having watched the video?
I did not recall.
Okay.
He did not hear anyone say, he's got a knife, he's got a knife. And I want to point something out. Remember when we were first watching? Remember, we're watching this in the moment. I know no more than you do as far as what we're watching. I was trying to decipher and understand and get the perspective of where the defendant was. And remember, I thought that he had gone back to the car when we saw Tyler De Silva being pushed into the street. Well, we're going to hear that that is not the timeline. Actually, the victims had already been stabbed by that point, according to what we're going to hear today. That was terrifying because wait a minute, we were seeing that while the video was going on. We're seeing that when we're not really seeing it, which is really terrifying. Maybe we're going to see more as they point things out, but I was just kind of stunned. But he does confirm he was the one shouting, let's go, N-word. Said it was just how he talks. He didn't hear, he's got a knife in real time, but he does acknowledge hearing it in the video playback, but not during the fight. He was taken to Griffin Hospital. Doesn't remember much due to mentally blocking it out, but he got stitches for his wound and was released early morning. His arm was bandaged for 3 to 4 weeks. He says he experienced occasional numbness, shooting pains that still happen, but infrequently now. And then he also discussed the mental effects. So I do want to play this. However, I found out I can do something really cool while we're on live. Let me see if it works. I can blur. So I was like, oh, darn, because I was going to show the injuries, and I am going to do that for Tommy and, oh my goodness, what is the name? Ryan. But for now, I didn't choose that portion to play because at that point, I didn't have the blur feature. So I'm just letting you know I wasn't going to show that unless I can see if we can backtrack a little bit. Let me see.
Give or take. I had slight nerve damage, like nothing too insane, but I did not feel it in my arm for a little bit. It was just numbness. And then for about a year after it all took place, like I could be doing the simplest of things, like going to get a glass of water from the fridge. And my whole arm just like shut down out of nowhere for like just like a split second. Like and just go numb, just come down. I'm just like, oh, whoa, that's crazy. But not
Does that still happen?
occasionally. It's not as often. Like I'll just say like literally every once in a blue moon it will happen.
Now, as a result of being stabbed on May 14th of 2022, have you had any other types of effects? Has this wound had any other types of effects?
Like mentally?
Yeah.
Yeah, it has.
Can you explain how it has mentally affected you?
Yeah, it was the worst day of my life. Plain and simple. Like,
Why was it the worst day of your life?
never in a million years did I think being at one of my best friend's house, I would get stabbed. Or 3 other of my friends would get stabbed, or Jim McGrath would die. It's like, even I think about it like every day. Like I try to really mentally block it off from myself, because I tried therapy, but that don't work for me. It don't. Like, I just couldn't do it. So I just try to like mentally block out everything. Even some days I'm just like thinking to myself, like, why him? Like, it sounds dark, but I'd be like, it should have been me instead of Jimmy. Because you don't see kids on that this earth like that. Like, just a kid that smile every single time you see him. You don't see that. It's really rare. And it's like,
I keep muting because we got screams going on in the back here. Don't know if you can hear that, but I don't want you to hear it while he's speaking because I want to hear him. But, oh my gosh. You don't think of all places that that's where you're going to get injured that way, and then a friend would die and others would be injured as well? And then the way that he described Jimmy, that's survivor's guilt. That's tough. The impact that it had on him, what he does in his life.
I don't know, man. It affects me every day. Like, I can't even go to church no more like that. I used to go to church all the time. Like, I'm talking pastor, my dad pastor, all that stuff. That's why I figured out Jimmy died. So I can't go there. Like, even when I try to go, I start messing my head a little bit. I just start thinking about everything.
It's really tough. The impact. Couldn't go to church anymore because that's where he found out that Jimmy died. He even tried to go to the University of New Haven 3 months after the incident, and he had to drop out because it was taking such a mental toll on him. He went to community college, and he plans to return to New Haven. He didn't want to tell people what happened because he didn't want them to pity him. I mean, that's really mature. He isolated himself emotionally. And I was worried about him on cross-examination because I even said out loud, be careful with him. Because my mama bear claws, they were just like out and waiting. And it was a tough cross-examination. I don't think Faison wanted to talk to Mr. Smith at all, especially because you know what happened to his friends and that this person is defending the person who allegedly did this. And also, I just want to point out, it's not easy answering questions when you are in the moment. We can sit here and rewind and think about them and take a moment. They can't. And the way that attorneys ask questions can be very confusing sometimes. But here goes. And you know what it's going to start with? Alcohol. Of course it is. Oh, by the way, if you look closely, that's his wound right there in the laptop screen that you can see straight ahead. That is his wound.
Good morning, Mr. Teal. How are you?
Doing good. How are you, man?
Good. We've never met before?
No.
Okay. I'm just going to go over with you some of your testimony from yesterday and today. If you would just keep your voice up, you know, we've got these loud fans going here for us. You told us yesterday that you had started the evening at another party, right? That was at Mr. Crespo's house?
Yes.
And that was for a surprise birthday party, right?
Yes, sir.
You thought maybe you'd had 2 beers there or so?
Yeah.
And you thought you got there around 9 o'clock, spent about an hour there and left around 10, right?
Yes.
And from there, you went over to Tyler Rich's house because you told us that was the regular thing to do.
Yeah, pretty much.
When you say the regular thing to do, you meant on a weekend night in general or that month because something special was going on?
Regular thing to do, hang out with your friends. That's it.
And was it a regular thing to go over there and that there would be underage drinking going on?
I'm going to say it's a regular thing.
No?
Just hanging out.
Okay. So this was unusual to go over there and that there would be drinking going on that
It
night?
wasn't unusual. It's not like it don't happen every single time. Like, I might drink every once in a blue moon, but it's not like every weekend.
Okay. Did you know when you went over there that Mr. Rich's parents weren't going to be there?
Nah, I didn't know.
So there you go. He acknowledged drinking at Tyler's wasn't unusual, but it didn't happen every weekend. He didn't even know that the parents wouldn't be there. And then we get more into his clothing, what he was wearing during the fight, what he wasn't wearing during the fight. Remember, I'm picking these out for you, things that I thought were important to note.
And you identified yourself as having worn a Marvel Duck shirt that night, right?
Yes, sir.
But at some point you told us you'd taken that shirt off.
Yes,
right?
sir.
Do you remember when you took that shirt off?
When I was outside.
Was it before the fight that we saw?
I don't believe so.
It didn't get taken off in the course of that fight, right?
No, it was just hot outside.
You said that Ryan Hines and Griffin Marcenzic showed up, right?
Yep.
And you spoke with them briefly.
Yeah.
So they showed up after you were there or they were in the basement?
It was after I got there they came.
Okay, so they arrived after you.
Yeah.
And when they got there, you learned that there had been some sort of fight over at 5 Lazy Brook, right?
Yes.
And you said you were unaware of the basketball group chat?
What group chat?
You don't recall there being a group chat going on that evening?
No.
Griffin Marcinzik or Ryan Hines didn't tell you, hey, we're texting these kids, telling them to come over here?
No.
He's like, no, I didn't know about a group chat. He took it off, his shirt I'm talking about, because it was hot, not because he was taking it off to fight.
You didn't show up at the house until sometime around 10:30.
Yes, sir.
When you showed up and went down into the basement, nobody was talking about a fight at 5 Lazy Brook?
Not when I got there, no.
That was only after Ryan Hines and Griffin Marcinzik arrived?
Yes, sir.
And you said that you told us yesterday that you learned of that group chat from Tanner Chernowski before these kids arrived, right?
I did not say that.
You don't recall telling us yesterday that you learned about this group chat from Tanner Chernowski before the kids arrived?
I didn't say before which kids arrived.
Before the kids from the 5 Lazy Brook fight arrived in the pilot.
Are you talking? Oh, before that? Yeah, before that, yes.
Before
So it's confusing. That's what I was saying. He got a little confused. What kids? You're not being specific, Mr. Smith.
that, you learned from Tanner Chernowski
from Tanner
that there was this
Chernowski.
group chat going on, right?
I didn't know nothing about a group chat. I just knew he was texting.
Well, that he was texting.
Yeah.
Is your understanding that that's different than a group chat?
I mean, a group chat is when there's a lot of people, but I wasn't really looking for details. You said that they was texting.
Okay, so you didn't know that there was a group chat, so to speak, but you did know that there was texting going on.
Yes.
And you knew that that texting, you learned about that from Tanner Chernowski.
Yes, sir.
And you knew that that texting involved texting the address of 43 Laurel Glen Drive to these other kids, correct?
No, sir.
What was your understanding of what that texting involved?
I just knew they were talking to someone else.
You knew they were talking in a polite, friendly fashion with someone else?
I had no idea, sir.
If he wasn't in the group chat, how would he know how they're talking? He wasn't in the group chat. Again, I feel like some of these questions, if he's not in the group chat, how is he going to be a witness to the group chat? He heard texts were being passed around and someone was coming there. There was something else though. At first, and this was confusion, I think, he says, oh no, I didn't talk to the driver and ask them if they had McDonald's, but then he said, no, wait a minute. Yes, I did. And it took a minute for that to be clarified, and I think it was getting frustrating for the attorney. But again, you're asking questions in a vague way and you're kind of going in circles. So I think it was even hard for me to understand because remember, he doesn't even know who the driver is. He finds all this out later. So you hear this too.
And you talked with the driver, right?
I don't believe so, no.
You don't recall telling us yesterday you conversed with the driver and you were asking him about McDonald's?
I didn't say that.
Okay. Did you ask anybody about McDonald's?
Yeah, well, when I came to the car first, I was like, I asked, like, y'all got McDonald's or whatever. But after that, it was really just something to leave.
Okay. Who did you ask about y'all have McDonald's?
At the time, I didn't know who the driver was, but now I know it's Jack Snyder.
Okay. So you did ask the driver about McDonald's, right?
Yeah, I asked somebody in the car.
Well, was it the driver, sir, or was it somebody else?
It was the driver.
It was the driver.
Yes, sir.
And they said, no, we don't have any McDonald's, and you backed off, right?
Yeah.
But you were still near the car at that point.
Yes, sir.
And at that point, you hadn't been joined by anybody else. It was just you and these 5 to 7 other folks.
Yes, sir.
So that's you, Tyler Richards, correct?
Yes, sir.
So that's 2. And you can't remember who the other
No, I do
5
not
to 6
recall.
people were.
I don't recall.
You said you observed some arguing, correct?
Yes, sir.
Who was arguing?
I do not recall.
You know, I do not recall. That's going to be brought up somewhere. And I don't know if it was today, yesterday. Yeah, sure. Maybe the attorney told them, you know, say, I don't recall if you don't know. I don't think that's coaching. That's just like, hey, this is an easy way to say that you don't recall. You don't remember. Just say, I don't recall if you don't know. Because to move court along and not get, you know, too many pauses and thinking, like if you don't remember, just say, I don't recall. But he does recall people rocking the car. Their hands were on the car. But he couldn't remember everybody that was there. Except he does remember, I think, Tyler Rich being there because it's his house. He came over to his house. He described the car driving back and forth between Farmhouse Road and Adams with people chasing and throwing things. And then he high-fived. Remember that? Well, of course this attorney is going to bring that up. You high-five people for running people away? So let's listen to that part. I thought it was interesting. Let's go back a little bit. I think it's like right. It's a little back more. Sorry. When you're streaming, you will understand it's not easy sometimes.
Was it the same 5 that had remained around the vehicle?
Sorry.
I don't recall.
But at some point, these people came back, you said, and you dapped them up and high-fived them, right?
Yeah.
For running people off, you said.
I did not say that. I was just
You didn't tell us yesterday that you dapped
Oh,
them
yeah,
up and
like,
high-fived
yeah,
them
from,
for
like,
running people off?
Yeah, like away from the property, yes.
Well, why'd you say you didn't say that?
But just the way you worded it. That's it.
And then you remained outside, correct?
Yes, sir.
You never went back into the basement.
No, sir.
But most of the other folks did go back in the basement, right?
Yes.
So again, it's the way the attorney words things. And I can understand that. I can. Now, we still haven't gotten any clarity on who says they're back. Remember the whole like they're back thing? Still can't tell who said it. Maybe you know. But if you know, don't tell us. We don't want to know yet. Let's go back to this area we were at first. I think it's a little back.
Those 20 to 30 started to encircle Mr. De Silva and Mr. Valle, right?
No, sir.
No, sir?
Nah.
What did they do?
It was outside chilling.
They were just outside chilling,
Yep. Observing the scene.
observing the scene
Yeah, like just like watching from the grass. Like,
quietly?
yeah, pretty much.
Did you see anybody with their cameras out?
No.
Didn't see anybody recording anything?
Nope.
Didn't see anybody with flashlights?
Nope.
You said that Mr. Valle and Mr. De Silva were not close to you, correct?
At first they weren't. No.
You heard somebody say that they were looking for Aiden King, right?
Yes, sir.
Did you see Aiden King anywhere?
Not at the time. No.
And at that point, you told us you moved to the front of this group.
Yes, sir.
How did you move to the front of the group that was just milling around and chilling?
Nah. I don't. You want me to show you?
I'd like you to describe it if you
I
could.
mean, I could describe it to you. I was a bit in the back. Then I heard them saying they was looking for Aiden King. So I came to the front.
You were in the back of who?
And I don't recall who. I was just like, I wasn't standing like toe to toe at first. Like I was just like a little off to the back.
But you had to move around some people in order to get to the front?
Maybe like one or two people. Yeah.
Just one or two people?
Sure.
I'm sorry?
I said yes.
Do you think it might have been more?
No.
No, I think it was only one or two.
Yes.
He's not having it with the defense attorney.
And you said that Mr. Valle and Mr. De Silva were only 2 feet apart, correct?
Yeah.
Was Mr. Valle behind Mr. De Silva?
I do not recall.
How would you know that? Like, what if I asked you, oh, do you go to supermarket? I went somewhere today. I went to Starbucks. Let's just pretend, okay? How many people were standing in front of you? I don't know, a few. How many were standing behind you? 2, 3 maybe in line? I don't know. What color shoes were they wearing? Don't know. Don't recall. I would not be able to recall. When you're in that traumatic situation, I'm telling you, even if it's crazy traumatic, remembering how many feet somebody was away from you is probably not going to be a priority, especially when you get sad that night. I think you're going to remember high level aspects of the case, not so much these little details. And honestly, sometimes I wonder why it matters. I'm not trying to be rude. I understand we're listening to both sides, but sometimes I'm just like, why does it matter? I understand like, oh, it's going to come into play because if this person was here and they were too close to the defendant and maybe he felt threatened and all these measurements are going to matter. But in the grand scheme of things, I'm like, let's get back to basics. Somebody brought a weapon, as far as I know.
Was Mr. Valle beside Mr. Rich?
I do not recall.
And you told us you were closer to Mr. Valle and you said y'all got to leave, right?
Yeah.
You also said, as you told officers, but you haven't told us here, my friends are crazy. They get rowdy, right?
I don't recall saying that.
You don't recall telling that to Detective Bango on June 8th of 2022?
No, I do not recall that.
And even if he did, even if he said, hey, you better leave. My friends are crazy. They get rowdy. Good. You're telling them, hey, don't mess with my friends. You might get in a bad fight. But I guess the defense attorney is showing, oh, well, that's why maybe they needed to be armed. Oh, we're going to hear about somebody being armed. You're going to finally hear that. I know a lot of you have already watched these days of trial. I have already watched ahead as well. But I want to do it in the recaps because some people are just watching my recaps. And I appreciate that. But even if he was telling them that, that's to me, it's like, yeah, he warned them, leave. My friends are going to throw a fit.
And you don't recall saying to Mr. Valle, my friends are crazy. They get rowdy. Y'all need to leave.
No, I do not recall that.
Would you describe your friends as being crazy and Getting rowdy?
No.
No.
Nah.
You said somebody was arguing with Tyler Rich, right?
Yeah.
Who was arguing with Tyler Rich?
I don't recall.
There were only 2 people that got out of that car. You don't recall who was arguing with Tyler Rich?
Oh.
How close were you to Tyler Rich when this happened?
I was fairly close to him.
And you said the arguing lasted about 30 seconds.
Yeah, it died like maybe 20.
And that then a punch was thrown by Tyler Rich, right?
Yes, sir.
And you don't recall why he threw that punch, right?
No, sir.
You didn't see Mr. Valle do anything to attack Mr. Rich, did you?
I did not recall.
You didn't see Mr. Valle do anything to attack you, did you?
I don't recall.
You didn't see Mr. Valle do anything to attack anybody at that point, did you?
I don't recall.
You don't recall why Mr. Rich decided to punch him, but it wasn't because you saw Mr. Valle do anything to Mr. Rich or anybody else at that point.
I don't recall.
Well, did you see Mr. Valle do anything to anybody at that point?
I don't recall.
But you recall seeing Mr. Valle,
Yes, sir.
but you don't recall what you saw him do.
Nope.
You do recall, however, somebody saying, "Where's Aiden? That's my boy. I want to talk to him."
Yeah, I recall that.
But you don't recall telling the officers that someone threw a punch, but you didn't know who it was.
I do. Wait, what? Restate the statement.
You're telling us that you saw Tyler Rich throw the punch, but you didn't tell officers that when you spoke to them, right? You said, "I don't know. Someone threw a punch, but I don't know who it is."
I don't recall that.
You don't recall that.
He's also seen the video at this point, so you're going to change if you know what happened now because it's different. So what you told officers might change what you're saying today in court because you've already seen more evidence.
And you recall that then Tyler DeSilva got hit, correct?
Yeah.
Who hit Tyler DeSilva?
Tyler Rich.
Tyler Rich hit Tyler DeSilva
Yeah.
and Raul Valle?
I don't recall.
Did Tyler Rich hit both of them?
I don't recall.
You do recall, however, telling us that Tyler DeSilva went to the ground near the tree, right?
Yeah.
And you told us that you participated in this, correct?
Yes, sir.
You didn't tell the officers that you participated in this when you spoke to them, did you?
I don't recall that.
Do you recall telling officers that you participated in kicking and stomping?
I don't recall.
Do you recall talking to the officers?
Yeah.
But you don't
I do.
recall telling them whether or not you were involved, right?
I don't recall, sir.
Because you didn't tell them that you were involved, right?
I don't recall.
And you told us that you were throwing some kicks, what you described as stomps, right?
Yes, sir.
You described those as being not too hard, right?
Nah.
Love taps.
Yeah, something like that.
And then today you said, well, maybe those were medium kicks, right?
Same word, sir.
Love taps. Attorney Smith, come on.
They're quite the same words. Not too hard, medium. Could they have been hard kicks?
No.
No.
He's like, look, I was kicking the guy so he would get off my friend. I wasn't trying to fatally injure them or anything. You know, that's what I think he's trying to get across. But saying like love taps and being kind of, I don't know, snarky with a victim, probably not a good look for the jury.
When you were throwing those kicks, were you telling anybody, hey, these are just soft kicks, don't worry about these kicks?
I don't recall.
Were you saying, hey, these are just medium stomps, don't worry about these stomps? I'm going to stop in just a second.
I don't recall that.
No.
Faison actually thinks that this man's saying that he said that. That's how confused he's like, what? I didn't say that. Oh,
You don't recall that because you didn't say that, right? You
Yeah.
said, let's go. And then as you described it, inward, right?
Yes, I did.
That was directed at the person that you were stomping, right?
I was just saying that. That's just the way I talk.
Just regularly as you're walking about, that's the kind of thing that you just say.
I mean,
Let's go inward. Just talking to the ether.
I mean, I can say that word whenever I want.
I imagine that you could. I mean,
Yeah.
anybody could. I'm asking you in this particular situation, you were not directing that at the person that you were kicking?
Yeah, I was directing it towards him.
You were directing it towards him.
Yes, sir.
Why didn't you tell me that the first time I asked?
What do you mean?
I'm sorry?
What do you mean?
The first time I asked you if you were directing that at the person that you were kicking, you told me you didn't recall. Now you recall?
Sure. Yeah.
Faison's so frustrated. He's already established these facts. Why are we going backwards? I don't know.
Fact of the matter is, Mr. Teal, you're telling us here today things that you didn't admit to when you had the opportunity to before when you spoke with officers. Would you agree?
No, I wouldn't agree on that.
You wouldn't agree. You've told all of this to the officers, that you were involved in the kicking and the stomping.
No, I didn't really tell him anything, bro.
You didn't tell that to officers, right?
No, sir.
Not when you talked to him on the 15th, correct?
No, sir.
Not when you talked to him on June 8th, correct?
He was dealing with an injury for 4 weeks after this happened. To me, I'm like, I know I'm taking sides, but to me, you're speaking to a victim who was traumatized, who probably didn't remember a lot of the things that were going on. But the attorney is going to be like, were you trying to protect your friends? Is that why you couldn't remember certain details?
Yeah,
And at some point you said you stopped kicking, right?
yeah,
And you decided at that time that it was time to start breaking up the fight, right?
yeah.
And you thought that perhaps you had gotten cut when you were trying to take someone off the top of Tommy Connory, right?
I don't recall saying that.
You don't recall telling that to the officers, that you were trying to take someone off the top of Tommy Connory and that might be when you got cut?
I don't recall saying that.
Do you recall taking Tommy Connory off the top?
I don't recall.
You don't recall having any interactions with Tommy Connory?
I don't recall. Besides when I saw him out there. That's why I can tell you I remember.
You don't recall being stabbed, correct?
No, like in that moment of time, no.
Because you had so much adrenaline going at that point, right?
Yes, sir.
A lot of adrenaline going when you were throwing those kicks, right?
Yes. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
That was snarky, in my opinion. A lot of adrenaline going. Well, look at what's happening. And it only happened for like a minute at the most.
When you were throwing those kicks and you were saying the things that you were saying, were you trying to scare the person that was on the ground?
I wouldn't say scared. It was, it was a fight.
It was a fight.
Yes, sir.
How many of you were fighting the person that was on the ground?
3 to 4.
That's it?
That's it.
What were the other 17 or 18 people doing?
Observing.
Closed captioning is like music. I'm like, that's not music. The paper shuffling, music. You can see his arm there on the screen.
You recall seeing Jimmy McGrath there that evening at the party, correct?
Yes, sir.
You don't recall where he was during the course of the fight in the front yard, do you?
No, I do not recall.
He wasn't one of the people you believe that was there with you, 3 or 4 people kicking and fighting that person on the
I
ground?
do not recall.
And that was the other thing. Jimmy didn't even look like he was involved. So, and this is one of the stabbing victims. This is not the defendant's friend. Although one of the defendant's friends did testify today, I want to say, or yesterday late. We're going to move on, though, to the next witness in this case. And this was PA, I think it's Eric Black, if I'm not mistaken. I think it's Eric Black. But I want to just make something clear. Mr. Black, PA Black, is not a nurse. I saw some YouTube videos where people were like, the nurse speaks out. He's not a nurse. He's a physician's assistant. Here in California, they're equivalent to a doctor. They study to be able to practice almost on their own. They're under a MD, a DO, but they can do a lot of things that physicians do. Just because they're called a physician's assistant doesn't minimize their role. They're not nurses. They actually have nurses under them who report to them in a hospital setting. I just wanted to make that clear because he's not a nurse. And I think, with all the education that people have to do, it's good to get their titles right and understand what they do. I know some people maybe get mad at that, but they can diagnose, they can treat, they can prescribe meds, and they just have to be overseen by a doctor, but that could be even a phone call. So PA Eric Black explains he went to PA school. He worked for a decade, and I think he worked for 13 years. I have to remember a lot of things. I'm sorry, but he works 8 years at Griffin Hospital ER, works part-time at St. Vincent's, and has prior experience in urgent care. He was on duty when Faison Teal arrived, because what you're going to see is one of the victims is going to come on, and then right afterward, the medical provider is going to speak about their injuries. I like how the prosecution set that up. I think it was a very good strategy. You're hearing what happened, and then you're hearing about who treated them. He came there on his shift with a puncture type wound located on the inside, the medial aspect of the arm near the elbows, like right about here. He's going to show you. And he said that it could have been caused by a knife or a bottle, but that's what Faison said. And I thought that was interesting. PA Black, of course, couldn't determine the exact object, but that it was sharp and small. There was fat, as Faison said, coming out of the wound when he arrived. And they had to, I think he said about like a cut about a half a centimeter to reach the layer that he needed to stitch up. But let's hear him talk about a little bit of this. I don't think I'm going to show anything on the screen, but it will be descriptive. So if this bothers you, you might not want to hear about it.
Laceration goes beyond the skin into the fatty tissue.
And you observed one laceration on his body?
Yes.
And again, where did you specifically see this laceration?
The left upper arm, I would call it the distal or the end of the left upper arm, like right about here.
Thank you for demonstrating. Please let the record reflect the witness is identifying on his own body, pointing to his upper arm where he observed the wound on Faison Teal.
Thank you. Record shall reflect.
And prior to that morning, had you had occasion to treat individuals who had had a similar laceration to Faison Teal?
Yes.
And based on your training and experience, would you label this laceration as a stab wound?
It was definitely a puncture type wound.
Were you able to tell based on what you observed what had punctured the skin?
It was definitely something sharp, relatively small. Yeah, that's all I could really tell.
Did you base that on your own personal observations as well as self-reporting by the patient, or both?
A combination of both what the patient told me and what I was seeing.
I'm going to direct your attention to page 1 of State's Exhibit number 72. Is this where your notes begin?
Yes.
And I just may have one moment, Your Honor. Is that your electronic signature that appears there, as well as notes regarding the date and time of when the patient was seen?
Yes.
And in looking at State 72 on page 1, what does it reference where it says HPI wound laceration? What does that acronym HPI refer to?
History of present illness.
And can you please read what it says under chief complaint and stated complaint?
Chief complaint is wound/laceration. Stated complaint is stab wound near left elbow.
What's the difference between the two?
So the stated complaint is exactly word for word what the patient says, and then our chief complaint is kind of like a general term for what's going on. It's a wound or laceration.
Still looking at States 72 under where it says history of present illness and HPI narrative, it indicates here that the patient indicated he was cut with either a knife or a bottle. That was self-reporting.
Yes.
And where it says he has a 2-centimeter laceration to the medial aspect of the left distal upper arm. Can you explain to members of the jury what that means again?
So it's the upper arm is considered above the elbow, and then this is the left distal is the end of the upper arm. The medial aspect is on the inside, so like right about here.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Still on page 1 of that same exhibit, what does it say under review of symptoms?
All systems reviewed and unremarkable, except as noted in HPI and below.
That term unremarkable, what does that mean?
Basically negative. So review of systems is like any other complaints, any other body system injuries. So what I'm saying here is that there's no other injuries or other symptoms other than what I noted in the HPI.
Directing your attention to page 4 into page 5 of State 72. Can you please read what it says underneath MDM wound laceration to yourself?
I don't think we need to hear more about this report because he's just going to read it verbatim. We understand, though, where the injury was, and that is what the state is trying to showcase. They want to make sure the jury knows exactly what happened. They got to see the pictures, so I think that was a little more intense. I didn't show them because at this point I didn't know how to do the blur, but going forward, I will leave them on the screen if I can and try to catch it with the blur because, you know, YouTube will take it down and everything, and I don't need that right now. This is a new channel. I don't want any bad things that happen on it. But on cross-examination, Attorney Smith wanted to know if Faison ever came back for any complications, and PA Black was like, not to my knowledge. Let's just see if I have that. No, I don't. I don't have that. Let me go back. I don't think we really need that part because I do want to jump into more of the victims. That was pretty much the only thing on cross that I thought was relevant to anything that we're kind of showcasing with the cross, is that he was trying to say, well, nothing worse happened. Faison didn't even come back. Yes, he had stitches. He had to get them out, but he didn't have ongoing complications or anything. And I'm like, sure, but he did get stabbed. So it doesn't really diminish that part, right? But now we are going to get into victim number 2, Tommy Connory. I was anticipating his testimony, and also Ryan Hines, who will come after him. But a lot of these witnesses have the same thing to say. Not that I think that means that they've been coached or that it's not the truth. The truth stays the same, right? It should if it's the truth. But I just want to bring you clips that are going to bring you something important and different than what you've already heard. So Tommy is 21. He's currently a finance student at Central Connecticut. And for summertime, he's self-employed as a marketer. He talks about when he arrived at Tyler Rich's house. He said it was around 7 or 8 o'clock. He headed to the basement with all of his friends. He said there were about 10 people there. It was casual. It was, people he knew. And he had 2 beers. He doesn't know if people were bringing their own, if it had already been at the house. But around 9:30 or 10, Ryan Hines and Griffin show up. Tommy hears about somebody getting jumped at Lazy Brook at the other party. He doesn't know anything about the group chat at this time, so let's hear his version of what happened when that car pulled up that night, because that's the important part, like their perspective of the events. So that's why I'm summarizing the other, because we would be here for an hour just hearing that part.
So people showed up in a Honda Pilot. They showed up and they were parked in the far side of the road across from the driveway, and they're facing down towards Farmhouse Lane.
So I'm going to show you States 30. Is this the car you saw that night?
Yes, that is.
And with regards to States 49, you said they parked in the road?
Yes, across from the driveway, but more towards the Adams Drive side.
So can you describe on States 49 where you actually saw them park?
So if you're looking, do you see the sewer grate on that side? The opposite of that. So
Here, so it would be over here?
nope, yep, right over there. Yep,
So they parked somewhere over here,
correct.
facing.
Down the road that way. Yep.
And when you heard that the car arrived, did you leave Tyler Rich's house?
Yeah, I walked out of the basement. I walked out through the Bilco doors because I heard there was people there that weren't invited, and everyone went outside. So I followed the crowd out there.
And when you went out the Bilco doors, where are the Bilco doors located?
On the far side of the house, you cannot see them in that image.
I'm going to show you States Exhibit 5. Can you see States Exhibit 5 where the Bilco doors would have been located?
Yeah, so if you see the AC unit to the right, they're behind that.
So right here?
Yes.
This area behind the SH unit?
Yep.
So if the record can reflect, he's pointing to the clearing in the area to the right side of the house in front of the blue truck where you can see an AC unit, and it would be behind the AC unit, I think is what he indicated.
Yes.
All right, record will reflect that. Thank you.
So when you came out of the Bilco doors on the right side of the house, what path of travel did you go when you left the house in States 49 and put that back up there?
So I walked along the house line, so in that grassy area between the white and the blue truck.
So he came out when he heard that people were there. He heard some loud bickering for about 5 minutes. He sees the car, but he doesn't notice any damage to it. Then it sped off full throttle down Laurel Glen Drive. Tommy then goes back inside, like many people do. He's chatting with his friends, and about 2 minutes later, he hears that the car is back out there. So he leaves the house again. I believe he said near the blue truck, which he just said again, because he's coming out this side of the house. Everybody's coming out this side of the house from the Bilco doors that are going from the basement up. And then when he gets out there, he spots his friends going face to face with the defendant and Tyler De Silva. And this is by the mulch pile. You're going to hear about the mulch pile a few times, and it has been in, I just want to go back a little bit. It has been in the photo that's above when they show that. You can see a little mulch pile.
You walked out of the house on May 14th of 2022.
I noticed that there was a group of Shelton kids face to face with who was Raul Valle and Tyler Silva.
And do you recall what they were wearing that night?
Who, my friends or the other kids?
What was Tyler De Silva
He was wearing a blue, like a baby blue jersey.
And do you recall what the defendant was wearing?
Same color, but a t-shirt.
I'm going to show you state 6, just so we understand what you're talking about here. Can you pinpoint where you were standing when you observed state 6, when you observed the initial?
Yeah, so I was standing in front of the blue truck by that mulch pile.
Okay, so if I point right here,
Yes, sir, right there.
so if the record can reflect in front of the blue truck at state 6, there is a brown mulch pile just to the left of the red bush, but obviously it's behind the red bush.
Court noted on the record. Thank you.
Okay, because I thought that red bush was the mulch pile, because how am I supposed to know? So those are 2 red bushes, and the mulch pile is unseen from where we are. And I guess this whole positioning situation is going to be becoming important somewhere, because they wouldn't keep asking, where did you come out? Where were you standing? So I have a feeling that the defense is going to use that in their argument.
So in regards to state 6, can you tell us where the defendant and De Silva were standing?
Yeah, they were standing to the road side of the red bush facing Shelton kids.
Right around here?
Yes,
Okay, so the left, so below the red bush to the left, down in this area here.
correct. Maybe a little more to the right for apparently,
Right
but
around
yeah.
here?
No, left more a little bit. Yeah, right there.
Okay,
There.
so to the record can reflect, I'm pointing to the left lower hand portion of the exhibit, which is in the grass area, which is down just slightly below and to the left of the red bush.
All right, court will allow the record to reflect that. Thank you.
And when you saw the defendant and Mr. De Silva in the yard, where were they standing? Were they close to each other?
Yes, they're close.
And who was on the right, who was on the left? Do you remember?
The driveway side was Tyler Silva, and the other side was Lido Valle.
And do you recall if any of your friends had approached them?
They approached my friends, and my friends were, yes, face to face with them.
And do you recall who out of your friends were face to face with them?
So from the driveway starting, and then going to the left from the driveway was Tyler Rich, then Tyler Wood, and then Ryan Hines at the time, who I believe was my brother.
And you thought Ty Woods was your brother? At the
No,
time?
I thought Ryan Hines was my brother. In that
Oh,
moment.
okay. And who was Ryan Hines and Ty Wood closer to?
They were closer to Lido.
Okay.
So this is interesting, because he thought that Ryan Hines was his brother. So Tommy thinks his brother is being fought. So, I mean, regardless, I think he would have probably helped. But what he's trying to say is, I thought that was my brother being, fought. And he was going to step between Ryan and the defendant, because he saw the defendant pull his arm back. And so that's why he sort of got involved at this point. But then he talks about hearing a pop, or he feels a pop and he hears something and he thinks it's a punch, but he realizes that there's blood soaking from his quad down to his ankle. Can you imagine? And he tells his cousin to call 911. And then he sees Jimmy collapse nearby. It's so much. I can't even believe this really happened. But let's listen.
And Ty Rich, who was he closer to?
Here, wait, I'm going to go a little bit further so we get to... Let's see if it's...
They pulled up his shirt to see that he had a blood coming down like this.
Also about your
Hang on.
your cousin Wilbur Artie.
Yes.
Sorry that I'm rewinding like that, but I want to get to...
Hip and laid
And
from, and then
And when you realized you were, who did somebody bring it to your attention that you were bleeding?
no, I brought it to my attention because I knew it was drizzling out, but I didn't think it was pouring. And I was like, why is my leg soaked? I feel like I'm covered in water. And then I took a flashlight out from my phone and I put it on my leg. And then I realized my leg from my quad all the way down to my ankle was covered in blood. There was no skin to see, and my shoes were covered in blood.
And when you realized that you were, stabbed at that point, what happened?
I immediately was like, I need stitches. And then I dropped to my right hip and laid there waiting for people to come over.
Are they going to show his wounds? Do I need to put the blur thing up? Ah! Hold on. I don't know if they're going to show it, so I'm going to blur right now, and then I don't know. Oh, no, they're just going to the defendant. Okay. I guess I don't need the blur. That freaked me out.
Who came over to help you when you dropped your hip?
The first person there was my cousin, Wilbur Artie.
Your cousin Wilbur Artie?
Yes.
And did he render aid to you?
Immediately, no. I was like, call 911, call 911.
And did somebody call 911?
Yes, he called 911.
And when he was calling 911, did you notice anything else about your surroundings? at that
So
point?
when I was on my legs, I was on my right side, laying down like this, looking up towards Will, saying, call 911. And I looked over to my left, and I saw Jimmy McGrath standing there by himself by the basketball hoop.
And what did you notice about Jimmy McGrath?
He was standing there by himself, and I was like, Jimmy, are you okay? And there was no response, but he slowly pulled up his shirt to see that he had a blood coming out. And as I looked at that, I was like, are you okay? You okay? And there was no response, and he collapsed to the floor. Like, he didn't put himself down. He just fell.
Oh my gosh. I can't even imagine seeing that. And the fact that Jimmy looked and knew he had been wounded.
And when he fell, what, if anything, happened next?
People started running over to him because like, Jimmy's not okay. And he sat there and bled out for a while.
Now, when you were fighting, when the defendant was hitting you in the leg, did you observe any type of weapon at that point?
I saw something black in his hand, but I didn't realize it was a knife or anything. I didn't think anything of it. But I saw a hole in his hand as like a black spot.
And did you notice any of your other friends that were injured that night? Did you see any of them get stabbed?
No, I did not.
And when Jimmy fell to the ground, did you say anything to your friends with regards to helping Jimmy?
I was telling people to go help him, yes.
Okay. And did people in fact go help him?
Yes, they did.
And at some point in time, did 911, did somebody call, did first responders arrive at the scene?
Yes, first responders arrived sometime later.
And when they arrived at the scene, tell us what happened. What did you observe?
So the officer came up to me and he was asking me if I needed some assistance. And he gave me a tourniquet and he put a tourniquet on my leg, as I already had some homemade tourniquets on my leg.
They actually grabbed, I believe, a sweatshirt and started tying it around his leg. Very clever. I mean, obviously, that's what you're taught to do, even if you are a teenager. I mean, you've seen shows. It's just, thankfully, they did these kind of things. I think he's gathering up the photos. So I'm a little bit concerned. Hold on, let me just go forward a little bit. Yeah, they're going to show the photos. So let me put up the blur. Yeah, because he's going to enter it into evidence. Okay, let's put up the blur just in case. I do not want to have YouTube come at me for this.
Thank you.
Are we seeing it? Oh, boy.
Now, prior to your testimony today, were you able to review a video in relation
Oh,
to
this is a
case?
video.
Yes.
And that
Never
video,
mind.
in reviewing that video, do you recall whether or not that video was shot at the beginning of the fight or in the middle of the fight or at the end of the fight?
It was middle towards end, was not the beginning.
And in your review of the video of the fight, do you know whether or not when this video starts, based on your review of it, can you determine if you were already stabbed at this point, or are you stabbed during the video or after the video?
I believe I was stabbed before the video.
Isn't that interesting? So that video that we keep watching, he was stabbed before that video. That blew my mind.
The video starts.
Yes.
Sorry. Can we just...
Yes, sir!
So I wonder if the defendant was putting something back into the car. Because he's at the car. These people have already been stabbed, apparently. I mean, according to this witness, he believes he's been stabbed before.
So when that video starts, the fight had already been going on?
Yes.
How long did the fight go on for, do you think, in total?
In total?
Yeah.
45 seconds to a minute, if that.
That video was about 17 seconds. There was about maybe 30 seconds that happened prior to the video starting.
Maybe a little less, 20.
You guys can't hear screaming when through my microphone. I can.
Now, we just went over these pictures. I wanted to give a quick opportunity to mark them. I'm going to show you them now.
Oh, the pictures are coming. I'm so scared. I'm sorry. I've never done this before. I don't know if I need to make this bigger. I have no idea where
I'll
they're
show you
going
what
to
the
go.
Marshall State's Exhibit 77. You see 77, Tommy?
Yes, I do.
So was this picture taken the night that you got stabbed at Tyler Rich's house?
Yes.
And I see that there's these things on your legs here and here. Can you tell us what these are?
Sorry, I'm already blurring. I just don't know when they're going to put it up on the screen, and it is pretty brutal.
Yeah, so the black one is a tourniquet that was provided by the police officer.
Right here?
Yes.
Okay.
And the one on the left, right there, that is my t-shirt.
So you took your t-shirt off,
Yes, when I went to the ground, I took my t-shirt off.
and when the cops got there, they put the top one on?
Yes.
I may have a moment.
Okay, I think I can tell when the camera's going to shift. Oh my gosh. His injury is brutal. Multiple stab wounds to his leg. Yeah, I'll put all the pictures inside Discord as well.
Tommy, I'm going to show you State's Exhibit 24.
Uncensored.
That's been marked as a full exhibit. Do you see that?
Yes.
Okay, that's just as
What is
close.
State's 24? Do you know what that is?
Yeah, that is my shirt, one shoe, and one sock.
Okay, you see how it looks like it appears to be ripped.
Yes.
Why is it ripped?
So at first, we only knew there was one stab wound. So what we did was my friend Brett Woodico ripped my shirt to put that one on, and then later to realize there was a lot more stab wounds. So we needed to cover them up and try to cover as many
How clever was that though? They remember we saw this rip. We're like, oh, somebody's shirt got ripped. They did that on purpose to use it to help his wounds.
as we can.
So you took your shirt off, you wrapped part of it around you, and at some point was that left on the front lawn of 43 Little
Yes.
Okay.
Oh no, is he bringing a bad picture? Ooh, he's bringing a bad picture. I don't even know if I'm going to be able to cover it right, but I'll try.
I just want to go through these pictures with you. This is State 73. What time of year was this taken?
Ooh.
This was weeks later. I would say this is probably the last week of May, 2 weeks after it.
You don't have any stitches in your leg. How come?
The doctor only gave me 2 stitches. He gave one on the really big one and then one on the top left one because they said my wounds were too deep and they were dirty, so they could not stitch them properly.
So they wanted, what was the purpose? The purpose of leaving them on
So I wouldn't get infected to stay clean.
State 75. When was this picture taken?
This was the next morning.
And it looks like here, your left quad is affected.
Yeah, it's bulged up and swollen and bleeding.
State 78. When was this picture taken?
That's a couple days later. That's bruising and still bleeding.
It's bad.
State's 76.
That's
Actually has the date on it.
yeah. So that's in 1 month later, and I was still bleeding in that top
It's
one.
actually bleeding. 1 month out.
State 79. This was taken this past November.
Yeah, so that's the entrance wound where the scar is, and then above it is the deformed quad from the actual wound right there.
So do you have an issue with your left quad as a result of this?
Yeah, it's deformed. There's no lower left part of the quad.
So if you look at yourself in the mirror, and you look at your legs,
They're very imbalanced. Yes.
they're very balanced.
Yes, the right one is bigger than the left one.
Do you work out?
Yes,
How often do you work out?
5-6 days a week.
Have you hit legs hard?
I'm trying.
Yeah. And has it done any difference as a result of this?
Nope.
There's skin removed.
State's 80. It's the rear portion of your leg. Again, scarring as a result of this incident.
Yep. And then you can see the indent
Past
too.
November.
Yep, and you can also see the indent in the leg.
This is State 74. This is the most recent
Yeah.
picture of your scarring.
Scars.
With regards to your friends that were at the Rich's house that night.
Wow. Just the fact that he's got so many wounds. He talks about how he had to use crutches, a wheelchair. They couldn't actually stitch them up because they didn't know what he was stabbed with. It could have been infected. He has a deformity in his muscle. There's an imbalance there. Even though he works out 5 or 6 days a week, the leg remains smaller and it's weak. It's a lot. It's a lot for a young person to have to deal with.
When you were outside and the fight broke out, how many people would you say were outside at that moment?
10 to 15.
And how many people were actually involved in the fight?
From what I saw, it only looked like 3.
Fair to say that everybody else not involved?
Yeah, in the
What were they
beginning.
doing? Do you know what they were doing just prior to the fight?
No, I did not.
You know what they were doing during the fight?
No, not during the fight, but I've seen the video. I've seen more.
It appears, what does it appear most people are doing?
Most people are sitting watching.
And with regards to the lighting that night, when the fight, just before the fight started and during the fight, Were you able to see in front of you?
Yeah, I was able to see in front of me.
To recognize people you knew?
Yeah, I was able to recognize faces.
Did anybody have any lighting or cameras or anything else out?
Yeah, there was flashlights on.
Do you recall if anybody, we know now that there was a video of the fight. Do you recall in the moment, though, was anybody videoing it?
No, I did not
To
know
your
it was
knowledge?
being videoed.
I'm sure you stayed 61. They still shot from the video you just watched. Have you seen this before?
Yes, I have.
And this individual right here with the white shirt and pink shorts with the camera, the phone in their hand, do you know who this is?
Yeah, that looks like Ricky Fuel.
I think this is really important because this is going to show you who everyone is, kind of where they were, what was going on. It makes a lot more sense. And I know we've heard this from other witnesses, but the more we hear it, the more we kind of get a perspective.
States, State 63. You seen this still shot in the video?
Yeah.
This individual here with the green sweatshirt,
Yeah, that's Ryan Hines.
Ryan Hines. Who's this person here with the to the right of Ryan Hines with the white shirt and black shorts?
Sal Perry.
This guy here with the jeans on and no shirt on. Do you know who that is?
That's Alex Bernstein.
This guy right here with the black shirt, red hat, and jeans. Do you know who that is?
Yeah, it's Michael Samperry.
Do you know who this is on their knees with their shirt pulled up?
Yeah, that's Tyler De Silva.
Do you know Tyler De Silva?
No, I do not.
Did you know him before that night?
I knew of him from his cousins. I knew his cousins.
Where did you know his cousins from?
I grew up playing baseball with them.
I'll show you State 64. You know who this individual is right here on the right with the white shirt, black shorts?
Yeah.
Who's that?
That's my brother.
Again, 65. Your brother?
Yes.
66. Do you know who this individual is? Looks like just to the right of Ryan Hines with the white shirt, tan shorts.
Yeah, that Jacob Villalobos.
And this guy right here with no shirt on, with what appears to be camouflage shorts and white shirt hanging up the back.
Yeah, it's Matthew Lockovich.
And this guy right here with the blue shirt, white pants. You know what that is?
Yes.
Who's that?
Jimmy McGrath.
This is State 67. Again, this person who appears to be shoving somebody. You know who that is?
Yeah, that's Jacob Villalobos.
Jacob was the one that shoved Tyler onto the road. Jimmy is right here on the right with the navy shirt. It does look like he's just observing. And that's, I mean, all of this is sad. Don't get me wrong, but it's sad to me, sorry, that it doesn't seem he was actively involved in it.
State 68.
However, we did hear a witness say that he did try to help or jump in.
This guy right here with the jeans on and the shirt pulled up going towards the street. You know who that is?
Yeah, that's Tyler De Silva.
How about this individual here to his left?
That's Raul Valle.
That's the defendant.
Yes, it is.
69. The individual in the street. You know who that is?
Yes,
Who's that?
that's Tyler De Silva.
And the individual standing right here to the left in the dark shirt and white pants. Do you know who that is?
Yes,
Who is that?
that's Jimmy McGrath.
Now, as a result of your wounds from May 14th of 2022, can you tell us about what other treatment you had to go through? Tell us about your recovery.
So the first night in the hospital, I was there for some time, and I wanted to stay the night because they weren't giving me stitches. So I thought I was going to bleed out. I didn't know. I'm not a doctor, so I didn't know how much blood is too much blood. So I was very scared, and I wanted to stay in the hospital. But they told me I was going to be good to go home. So they gave me the 2 stitches after asking, and they sent me home. And then exactly 1 week later after the incident, I stood up and I passed out and had to go back to the hospital.
And what happened when you went back to the hospital?
They had to, retreat me, just clean me up, and they told me that I was really deficient in iron in my blood, so that's why I was passing out. So I had to go back and get that.
And do you know why you were deficient in iron?
No, but I'm assuming it's from lack of blood, lost blood.
And what was your recovery time like as far as were you able to walk right away?
I was in a wheelchair for some time, I think 7 to 10-ish days, and then I was crutching around after, and I was crutching for a while. I couldn't walk for over a month, maybe like about a month.
Were you bedridden at all?
I was bedridden for 3 weeks, no movement. I couldn't bend my leg. It was stiff, and when all the bruising was happening, I couldn't do anything.
And you're in fact still bleeding a month later?
Oh, yeah.
Show you State's Exhibit 55.
Sorry, I don't know what they're showing, so I'm just going to blur just in case. I don't know what they're showing.
You know who that individual is?
Yes, that's me.
And do you recall about when this picture was taken?
A couple days later, maybe the next day.
Oh, yeah, those are the wounds. I already showed that in another video and it didn't get flagged, so there's his wounds.
Now, have you had any other effects as a result of this besides the physical effects?
Mentally, I mean, it was really hard to get through for the first month. That was, my parents would try to help me, and I was just telling them to get off of me. I wanted to try to do things on my own, but I couldn't. So I was frustrated with everybody around me, and then tried to frustrate when I was trying to start to learn to walk again. And mentally, I mean, it hurts, but that's really it.
Wow. Wow. I was worried about cross-examination. I was like, oh no, what's going to happen here? He's going to go back over who was there, who was fighting. So let's listen in on that. And yeah, I was worried he was going to be rude to these witnesses, rude to these victims. But here it goes.
3. You see that on your screen there?
Yes, I do.
And you identified this person as being Ryan Hines, correct?
Yes.
And he's wearing black shorts with a white stripe, you agree?
Yeah.
And a green hooded sweatshirt?
Yes.
And this person next to him, you identified that person as being Sal Perry?
Yes.
And the person on the ground, you identified that as being Tyler De Silva, correct?
Correct.
You told us before that Mr. Hines was fighting with Mr. Valle, correct?
Yes, I did.
And in this photo, you'd agree that Mr. Hines is actually over near Mr. De Silva, correct?
Correct.
And in fact, you can't see Mr. Valle in that picture, can you?
No.
Do you see your brother anywhere in that picture?
No, not in that one, no.
You see Alex Bernstein here?
Mhm. Yes.
And then I'm going to show you what is State's Exhibit 64. You still see Alex Bernstein there?
Yep.
Correct. You see Ryan Hines here, correct?
Correct.
And you see your brother here, correct?
Correct.
Where are you at the time this picture was taken?
So I am behind that crowd, towards the car, not towards the curb, but behind that crowd. So away from the driveway.
You are behind this crowd.
This was important because I was like, yeah, we can't see beyond what's lit up right here. I mean, an iPhone only goes so far. A camera phone only goes so far. So there are people that are standing behind this, including Tommy.
Towards the driveway?
Well, he was involved in a fight at this point, I believe.
No. Like directly behind that crowd. Like you cannot see me.
Closer to the pile of mulch that you described earlier?
No. Like if towards the other property line. So directly behind it from our point of view. The pile of mulch is to the left in this angle.
Okay. This is your brother Charlie here.
Correct.
And you are somewhere behind Charlie and this other unidentified individual?
No, I'm behind the Alex Bernstein angle.
You think you're
Right. He's behind what you're seeing. He just said our point of view and then behind. So he's behind Alex, who doesn't have a shirt on.
behind Alex Bernstein?
Yes,
How far behind him do you think you were at that time?
5 to 10 feet.
Did you see Faison Teal?
No, I did not.
Did you see Faison at any point that evening?
No. Well, during the evening, yes, but not during the fights.
And you see Mr. De Silva in this photo, correct?
Yeah, you could see him a little bit.
You see that Mr. Bernstein appears to have his hand somewhat on Mr. De Silva, right?
Yes.
And when this photo was taken, you're behind Mr. Bernstein.
Yes.
Where was Mr. Valle?
In the moment he was towards the road.
He was towards the road.
Yes.
And who was around Mr. Valle?
I do not recall.
But you recall seeing Mr. Valle?
Yes.
Was he by himself?
After he was with me, I do not know where he went besides towards the road.
So when this photograph is taken, or with the image captured here, this is still shot from the video, right?
Yes.
I'm so curious if there was blood inside the car. Like my brain is going everywhere. I'm like, well, where did he put the weapon? What was the weapon? Was it a knife? Was it something else? What did he get? Because I don't want to do any spoiler alerts or anything, but there is going to be testimony that he was looking for a weapon. He was looking specifically for a knife in that car. So
This image captured here, you think you had already separated Mr. Hines from Mr. Valle at that point?
Oh, yes.
Okay. So at this point, Mr. Hines has already been stabbed.
Yes.
You've already been stabbed.
Yes.
When you were stabbed over behind Mr. Bernstein.
Yes.
And then after Mr. Hines was stabbed, he got up and he came over to the fight where Mr. De Silva was.
That's what it looks like, yes.
Is that what you saw?
No, I didn't see him.
And at this point, are you already laying down on the ground on your right
No.
hip?
I'm not.
What are you doing at this point?
Standing in the back, just in shock.
I'm going to show you now states 65. Can you see that on your screen?
Yes, I can.
And you still see Mr. Hines here with the black shorts and the green hooded sweatshirt?
Yes, I do.
And can you tell us who's beside him?
No, I can't tell on that.
This is your brother, Charlie.
Yes.
correct? Who's behind him?
I think that is Joey Romano.
Joey Romano. Where is Will Berardi in this picture?
Nowhere to be found.
Ah, no, those are just the scars. It's like, if all that work.
66. You see that photo?
Yes.
Do you see Mr. Hines here with the black shorts and the green hooded sweatshirt?
Yes, I do.
And he's still standing over top of Mr. De Silva, who's blocked by Mr. Villalobos and
Yes.
Mr. Lakovich, correct?
Yes.
And you see Jimmy McGrath here to the right, correct?
Yes.
Wearing a navy blue shirt and white shorts, correct?
Correct.
That evening, you yourself were wearing a dark shirt, correct?
Yes.
Was it navy blue?
Oh boy.
Yes, it was.
Did it have anything on it?
Not that I recall. No.
No graphic on the back?
Nope.
And I'm going to now show you States Exhibit 67. Can you see that on your screen?
Yes.
And do you still see Mr. Hines' black shorts with the white trim at the bottom?
Yes.
And you would agree that this is showing Mr. Villalobos is shoving Mr. De Silva into the road, correct?
Yes.
And do you see a figure here with a dark shirt on?
Yes.
Do you think that could be you, sir?
Not that I know. No.
If it was, what's the theory? I don't know. We have to get there, right? Because I don't know what their case is about. We haven't gotten to the defense case. But I'm like, but he was there though. So if he was there or over here or back here or over there, like what is it? This is dynamic, right? It's happening in the moment. It's ongoing. Things are happening. People are moving. It's not like you're standing in one place and you're going to X marks the spot. I was right there. So to me, I'm just sort of like, why are we going over this again? But there must be a reason.
You see what you think is Mr. McGrath here to the right again, correct?
Yes.
And you testified here that you were only engaged in fighting with Mr. Valle, correct?
Correct.
You were never engaged in the fight that was going on with Mr. De Silva,
No, it was
correct?
not.
Okay, it's going to go on. He's going to ask him a few more questions.
How many people did you see in the Shelton High Kid group that was down the street?
They were scattered through the road, so I wasn't counting.
How many would you estimate were down there?
I don't know. I never thought to count how many people were down there.
No, but you went back inside and you told everybody what you saw, right?
I went inside and I was like, they're down there, sitting there. That's all.
Like that, calm and just, they're down there, they're sitting there.
Sure. Yeah.
That's how you told the folks?
I don't recall exactly.
Who was it that you told?
I don't recall who.
Who was in the basement at that point?
The older crowd,
Who's the older crowd?
kids my age. So the kids who graduated in 2021.
Like who?
The girls as like Michaela Holton and them, and then my cousin Will.
So it was just you, Will, and Michaela Holton and another girl that were in the basement at that point?
No, there's a little more people, but I wasn't engaging with them, so I wasn't picking up on who it was.
Where was your brother at this point?
I don't know.
And again, you told us that you heard that they came back, right?
Correct.
Who said they came back?
I don't know who.
How did you hear that they came back?
Someone said it.
I really want to know who said they came back.
How did they say it?
They came back.
Like that?
Yes.
They just calmly said they came back.
They said they came back.
They came back.
You can't tell us who that was.
I don't recall who it was.
You're sure you were down in the basement?
Yes.
What does it matter if he was or he wasn't? I guess it's going to have to do with how many people were out on the lawn because it could have looked threatening, but I'm like, but you didn't have to get out of your car. That's just my whole perspective on that.
You didn't see Faison Teal down there?
No.
You didn't see Tyler Rich down there?
No.
You didn't see Matthew Lokovich down there?
No.
You didn't see Alex Barneson down there?
Nope.
Didn't see Michael St. Perry down there?
No.
Didn't see Sal Perry down there?
Nope.
Didn't see your brother down there?
No.
Didn't see Ryan Hines down there?
No.
In any event, you went back outside once you heard that they were there.
Correct.
Why did you go back outside at that point?
Because I heard they were back, and I was curious to see what was going on.
Did you go out by yourself?
Yes.
Nobody else was with you.
No, I went alone.
So when you got outside, people were already there in the yard.
Correct.
You went to the tree area in front of the blue truck in the exhibit that you were shown, correct?
Correct. By the mulch pile.
By the mulch pile. And you stayed there until the fight broke out, you told us.
Yeah.
And when you came out, you saw a group of Shelton High kids face to face with Tyler De Silva and Raul Valle, correct?
Correct.
Who were those kids that you saw face to face with Tyler De Silva?
Tyler Rich was on the right. Ty Wood was in the middle. And then I thought was my brother Charlie Connory on the left, but that was Ryan Hines.
There were 3 Tylers fighting. I don't know if Ty Woods is Tyler. It could be something else, right? But there's Tyler De Silva, Tyler Rich, and Ty Wood.
And that was it. There were just 3 kids that were there
Face
with
to
them?
face. Face to face, yes.
Okay.
Those kids in the driveway who I did not identify.
I want you to hear what he said that the defendant looked like when he was coming his way. And I hope I don't mess this up. I hope I got the right timestamp.
Right?
Correct.
And in fact, when you described that to Officer Bango on July 9th, you told him that he stared into your soul and made creepy, demonic eye contact with you, correct?
Yes.
Demonic eye contact?
It was eye contact of someone who knew what they were going to do. It looked very unpleasant and very scary.
Demonic eye contact.
And then you said at some point the fight just stopped, right?
Yeah.
Do we see the fight just stop on that video?
No, it keeps going.
So this end of the fight where it just stopped, that occurred sometime after the end of the video, right?
When I referred to the fight just stopped, that's referring to when me and Raul have separated.
Okay. So after you and Mr. Valle separated, the fight continued, right?
Yes.
And who did you see involved in the fight at that point?
I don't recall seeing what happened after that point.
He meant his portion of the fight just stopped because he felt somebody, what he thought was punching his leg. But then the video just cut off. But the altercation itself continued beyond that recording. It was misty. It was raining out there. He did confirm that because he asked about the weather again. I remember that. So that did affect visibility out there. But now we're going to go to some more information he's going to provide. If you like sarcasm and humor, you're going to like the last witness of the day because he wasn't messing around. He was the one, Ryan Hines, that started all of this. And I don't mean it that way. I mean, him being ambushed, him being jumped, started putting this all into motion because of the fact that he was affected by that, talked about it with his friends. Friends were older than him, kind of wanted to, I would say, like, stand up for their brother, you know, not real brother, but friend brother.
We're gonna have a little trouble zooming, getting to that pinpoint. Okay, that's fine. Let's go with 16 there. Oh, okay. And do you see in frame 14, again, green top, black shorts with white trim over to the right-hand side of the
Yes,
frame?
yes.
So if you look way off in the distance to the right center, you can see Ryan Hines in the green sweatshirt and the black pants.
And do you now see 2 people with lighter shorts and dark tops, one of which has a graphic on the back, one of which does not appear to have a graphic on the back?
I see they both have graphics on the back.
That's what I see. The 2 navy shirts that are to the right of the green sweatshirt, which is Ryan Hines, they both look like they have graphics on the back. One is probably Jimmy. I don't know who the other one is.
When you say they both have graphics on the back, the farthest one to the right, you believe that's a graphic as opposed to that person's head?
Yes, it looks like a graphic to me.
What color shoes were you wearing that evening?
White.
Would you agree that these two people both appear to be wearing white shoes?
No.
No.
That looks like black.
Can we play through
The defense attorney is trying to identify Tommy in this video. He wants to know where he was.
frame 29?
And Tommy was also wearing a navy blue shirt. So he's saying, like, is that you? But his did not have a graphic on the back.
You pay particular attention to frames 25 and 29. Can you see the counter on the bottom?
Yes, I can.
Do you see from frame, here we are at 22, is there a way to make it progress frame by frame?
Oh.
Do you see now, okay, here we go.
That does look like a graphic on both of those shirts to the right.
Let's stop there. Did you see those two people kicking their legs?
No.
No. Is there a way to?
I didn't see that.
Slow it down. Really just want to focus in on 25 and 29.
Let's look at that again. Kicking their legs? De Silva was wearing jeans and a blue jersey that was open in the front with a white shirt underneath.
Yes, sir!
Can we go back then
Sorry, I was pausing it because I'm like, I'm trying to see.
to frame 79?
It's so far.
Thank you. That's fine. Yes, thank you.
I wanted them to blow it up, like full
Can you see
screen.
this on your screen as well?
Oh, yes, I can.
And do you see sort of center left, again, Mr. Hines, green top, black shorts, and white shirt?
Yes, I see that.
And do you see this person with dark pants, a white top, and some sort of multicolored graphic on the back?
I can't see a reporting, sir.
It's to the right, Mr. Hines, sir.
Oh, you're talking about the looks like long black pants, like the closest person?
I think so, yes.
Can you point again? Because actually, I'm sorry, you're blocking my vision.
Do you have
No
a-
way for me to do
excuse
so.
Do you have a pointer here?
Yeah.
Could you use that?
Thank you so
Thank you so much.
Do you see this person right
Yes.
here with the dark pants and the white top and the multicolored graphic on the back?
Yes, I do.
Do you know who that is?
I cannot tell now.
Where were you while this frame is being seen?
I believe I'm in the far back.
In the far back.
So-
When you say in the far back, behind this group of people?
Yes, behind that, yes.
And you see Mr. Hines here?
Correct.
And you believe at this point you'd already been stabbed?
Correct.
You believe Mr. Hines has already been stabbed?
Correct.
Can we play forward to 112? You see a person on the ground here, Mr. Connory?
Yes, I do see that.
Do you believe that to be Tyler De Silva?
I can't tell in this.
Well, you described him before as wearing a blue baseball-style jersey, correct?
Yes.
And can we play it to 135? Here we are at frame 135. You see the gentleman with the white shirt, multicolored graphic on the back, and the dark pants to the right?
Yes.
You see beside him a person with a dark shirt, light shorts, and some light shoes.
Yes, I do.
You see beside him another person, dark shirt, light shorts, white shoes.
Yes.
Would you agree that this person that we've just described in the dark shirt, light shorts, and white shoes is going to the left of the screen towards this altercation happening to the left?
Yes, it looks like that.
Would you agree that these other folks we described, these two on the right-hand side, they are participating in something that's going on to the right side of the screen?
Yeah, there's like two things going on. There's like one towards the right that we can't see, and then we can see one right in front of us.
Yes, they look like they're looking that way.
And do you see on the far left what we've already identified before as being Enrico Fiola holding a camera?
Yes.
Yeah, I can see that now.
And can we play that ahead to frame 182, please?
Yeah, I can see people kicking. There's a person in white that's kicking. Right there.
This is frame 182. Would you agree that's the still shot that we've seen earlier when you were showing the exhibit?
Somebody's filming with their phone.
Would you agree?
Yeah, it looks similar to it. Yes.
Right, because we see Enrico Fiola here again, right? He's looking towards the screen. We can see the light in his eyes,
Yes.
and he's again holding the camera, correct?
Correct.
And there's again this person on the ground, which I believe earlier you identified as being Tyler De Silva.
Yes, that's him.
And that's Tyler De Silva on the ground, correct?
Correct.
And then can we
So the argument right here would be, if the stabbing was going on at this point, did Raul think, and it's not, because then we're going to hear other testimony, so I'm answering my own question, but the defense could make the argument, well, he thought he needed to help his friend. With all these people, his friend was on the ground being beat up, all these people were surrounding him, he didn't know what to do, and so in defense of others, he got a weapon to scare everyone away. Sure, but then you stabbed people, so I don't know.
play it forward just a frame or two ahead? One more.
It's so hard to see.
I'm sorry. Can you back that up to maybe 180? Yep. And one more. There we go. Do you see here, again, Mr. Hines with the black shorts, the white trim, and the green top?
Yes, I see him.
What is he doing there?
Standing over the kid on the ground.
Can we play that forward to 183? Sir, would you agree that he is kicking that person that is on the ground?
It looks like he's doing something.
Doing something, but you're not sure what.
Yeah, it's hard to tell.
All right. Can we play that forward? And I'll just ask you when to stop her. Thank you.
There's the defendant in the back going to the car.
Do you know who this gentleman is that's standing here in the front of the frame with the white shirt and looks like some sort of dark bottom?
It's hard to tell with the light on his face.
Can we play that forward just a little bit more? And again. Stop, please.
There's the defendant in the back.
Any idea who that was?
It looks like someone named Alex Zaborek.
I'm sorry?
Alex Zaborek.
Alex Zaborek.
Yes.
Do you remember him being there that evening?
Yes.
Did you tell anybody about Alex Zaborek being there that evening?
No one has asked me about him.
How are you supposed to remember 30 people that were there? I wouldn't be able to do it.
No one's asked you about it. Can you play that forward again? Can you pause it there? We're at frame 332. Do you see that, Mr. Connory?
Yes, I do.
And do you see here to the left, standing beside somebody with their camera out, Ryan Hines with the white trim, black shorts, green top?
Yes, I see him.
Do you see Mr. De Silva on the ground with his baseball jersey up over his head, hockey style?
Yes, I see that.
Do you see Alex Bernson leaning over him?
Yes, I see that.
Do you see Michael Sampieri also coming towards him?
Yes.
Is this your brother coming into the frame here from the right-hand side?
Yes, it looks like it.
Can we play that again forward ahead? And can we pause that? And do you see your brother being followed by this gentleman in the gray top with the dark shorts?
Yes.
Who did you tell us that was before?
Joey Romano.
Joey Romano. Did you tell anybody that Joey Romano was there that evening?
None.
You weren't asked.
No, and no, I was not asked.
Do you see this gentleman here with his shirt off and the dark colored maybe camouflage shorts?
Yes.
We know from the police report there were 32 people there,
That's
and they had all their names.
Matthew Lokovich.
Correct.
And he's in a group, you would agree, with Mr. Romano and your brother.
Correct.
Can we play that forward again, please? Can you pause it, please? Do you see right behind Mr. Lokovich a person with white shorts and a dark top?
Yes, I do.
Do you believe that to be Mr. McGrath?
Yes.
Can you play that forward again, please? Can you pause it there, please? And you see Mr. Hines standing to the left of frame 400, correct?
Correct.
Green top, black shorts, white trim, correct?
Correct.
Yes.
Jacob Villalobos shoving Mr. De Silva.
Yes,
correct?
we've seen
Correct.
this.
You see the leg and part of the body of Mr. McGrath, correct?
Correct.
And he's standing in close proximity to this group that is shoving Mr. De Silva away.
I would argue he's facing the other way. I don't know what the point is here. Okay, all these people were involved, even if they were. I'm still confused. I guess his argument is, oh, look, Jimmy was participating. There was a person on the ground. All these people were attacking Tyler Da Silva. That's why Raul had to grab a knife. He had to get them away.
You agree?
It's like, why weren't any of these people harmed? I'm not saying they should have been, but I'm just saying, why was it people on the perimeter? Because right now, the person in the green, that's Ryan, he got stabbed. The one on the right, Jimmy, he got stabbed. So, and then Tommy was in the way back. He got stabbed. It's almost like people on the perimeter were hurt.
Yes, somewhat close.
Can we play that form, please?
And now Tyler's out of the picture, which only solidifies to me they were trying to get him to leave, pushing him further and further off the grass. And he's coming back to the grass.
Pause there, please. We're at frame 490 now. Can you see that?
Yes.
Where were you located when that was going on?
In the back area where I was saying before, behind the crowd.
Still behind the crowd.
Correct.
Are you laying down at this point?
No, I was not.
What were you watching at this point?
I was just in shock and just staring off.
You still see Mr. McGrath here in frame 490, correct?
Correct.
Where were the rest of those people that were just with Mr. McGrath?
There to the left of him.
You could see them?
No, but just from the last clip before.
You're inferring that they didn't just disappear.
No, they did not disappear.
That was pretty much all of Cross, just reiterating where everybody's positions were. And I know this is going to be part of their theory of the case and what happened that night and how many people were fighting Tyler Da Silva. And maybe, in essence, they needed a weapon. I'm not sure if that's really the theory, but that's what I am supposing from what I've heard. So now we're going to move on because, like I said, after we hear from a victim, we're going to hear from a medical professional who treated their injuries. And this is Dr. Roselle Crombie, board-certified surgeon. She is trained in burn victim surgeries, reconstructive surgeries, and she primarily has an outpatient practice, but she does cover trauma, and she is on call for 30-hour shifts at Yale-affiliated Bridgeport Hospital. 16 years at Bridgeport. She has expertise in trauma, burns, critical care, reconstructive surgery, and she's also faculty at Yale School of Medicine. She was on call when this altercation occurred. So that's where we're picking up now. She's going to talk about her findings on Tommy, I believe, first.
Page 2, under where it says history, chief complaint. Can you please read what it says under that line?
Stab wound, multiple stabbings to the left thigh. Trauma alert called at 0042, so 12:42 a.m. direct to trauma 4, which is one of our main trauma rooms.
The trauma room was trauma
4,
4.
correct.
And how many do you have? At the trauma
We have
room?
3
Okay.
that are active, but we can spin to more than that if needed in a mass casualty incident.
I'm going to direct your attention to States 81, page 6. Towards the bottom of that exhibit under the heading ED Notes by Messer Marissa RN. Can you please read what it says there, starting with the sentence on assessment?
So on assessment, the patient with 4 puncture wounds to the lateral aspect of the left thigh, inferior and superior wounds with hematoma, bleeding controlled, pedal pulses present bilaterally. Cardiopulmonary monitoring initiated, VSS, which means vital signs stable. GCS is a measure of the activity and movement and response of the patient. IV access established in the right AC, which means antecubital, which is the inner part of the arm. Lab work collected. Please refer to the trauma narrator for further documentation.
What does all of that mean that you just read?
Okay, let me break it down. The assessment we do, there's parts of a note in the way that we communicate in medicine, which is basically, and the medical students and the residents, they evaluate by hearing the history first, and then by doing a physical exam head to toe. And then there is an assessment, meaning based on the description of the history, the physical exam, and examination of all of the imaging labs, et cetera, what is your assessment? So this is the individual that wrote this, who is a nurse. This is what she is reporting as her assessment for this patient. So 4 puncture wounds, so 4 stab wounds, lateral aspect of the left thigh. So there's laterality, so there's left and right. Lateral means to the outside of the body. Medial means to the inside of the body. So it appears that there were 4 puncture wounds to the lateral aspect, so outside of the left thigh. Inferior means, again, inside. Superior is above. so towards the top, with a hematoma, which is basically a collection of clotted blood. Bleeding is controlled, it appears, is what she is assessing. Pedal pulses means that she touched or somebody touched the bottom of the feet and examined the arteries there. And what that indicates is that there's good blood flow that goes beyond those stab wounds to the feet. And cardiopulmonary monitoring was initiated, meaning that they hook them up to the monitor, which is blood pressure, O2 saturations, respiratory rate, amongst other things. Vital signs are stable, so they fell within a specific range. GCS is a Glasgow Coma Scale. It is a universal way that in the emergency room and surgeons communicate, and it's based on eye movement, verbal, and then overall movement. And there's a score, 15 is the best that you can get. The minimum we typically give if somebody is even deceased is a 3, because they got basically a 1 for nothing. IV access means that the nurses were able to put the IVs in the right arm, and then they collected the typical blood work that we do.
She's saying all this because they're about to talk about the blood work, and they're going to bring up his BAC because that is going to come into play.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Referring you to States Exhibit 81, bottom of page 6 into page 7. This is where your notations begin.
This is part of my note. Yes.
And is that your electronic signature on this documentation?
It is.
Okay. And you personally examined Thomas Connory,
I
is that
did.
correct? And in that same Exhibit 81, where it says pre-hospital information, what does that refer to?
Pre-hospital information means that before they got to the hospital and rolled in, emergency medicine services are also providing some type of medical care, and they're documenting that in some capacity. Now, I don't see anything other than when the patient rolls in. So I know nothing about whether or not that's valid or invalid. It just is.
And emergency medicine services, that's EMS?
That's correct.
And it indicates here on States 81, page 7, arrival time and exam time. Is that when you actually examined Thomas Connory?
No, as I stated before, the way that it works is based on the grading of the system. He is a middle grade, so I don't technically need to examine him for a certain period of time. If it's the highest grade, we have to be there within 15 minutes.
Moving to page 8 of States 81.
She saw, I believe, Jimmy first, and then she tended to Tommy's wounds.
This was a picture that was taken
At the scene.
Do you recall if this is similar, Mr. Connolly was taken?
It is similar.
Okay.
So we don't see these pictures, obviously, unless EMS has it. I just see the patient as they roll into the emergency room.
And let's take one moment, Your Honor. Showing you the mark state 73. This was a photograph that was taken of Thomas's injuries about a week after, I believe.
Oh, good.
Correct. They are consistent. So the left leg, and you can kind of delineate that because there was another leg underneath it that shows the right leg. Lateral is the outside of the leg, like I was saying, and those are 3 of them. There was one on the other side. So when we talk about this is the lateral, the opposite of that is a medial. There's clear description throughout the chart multiple times of an inferior medial one as well. And the significance of that means that the object, whatever it was, went through and through to, could have gone through and through to the other side. And that's the concern that I have as a surgeon.
So pointing to this exhibit, indicating here, I don't know if you can see that, which injury was this? You termed it as?
It should be superior lateral.
Okay. And pointing here to the middle exhibit
That should just be lateral or anterior lateral.
and pointing to the lower end.
It's technically inferior lateral because it's still on the outside of the leg.
So you already saw his wounds, but I wanted to let you hear her talk about them a little bit. I know it's very medical in nature, but she's also going to talk, that was Tommy. She's also going to talk about tending to Jimmy now. So I want to change to that. There's not a lot to be said other than what she described.
Came in. Do you recall what his appearance was?
Very pale and white, and he was on a Lucas machine, which is an automatic machine that performs CPR. There is a plunger that goes over the chest, and then there's an archway where they put the patient's arms to, and it's Velcro too. And the EMS can start and stop, as can the team. The Lucas machine is what it's called, and that allows the EMTs or the paramedics to focus on things such as fluids, managing his airway, etc., things that need to be done. Yet CPR is being performed.
If it's noted that his appearance was toxic looking, what does that refer to, or what does that mean?
The nurses say that if for some reason the patient looks like they're either dead or imminently dying, but very sick, not good.
Do you know what the acronym ETT refers to?
Yes, endotracheal tube.
And what is that?
That is the breathing tube that gets put into your airway when you can't breathe for yourself.
And the term asystole, what does that refer to?
So there are different types of heart rhythms. Asystole means that there's no electrical activity that the heart is actually showing, nor is there any waveform that will transduce to the heart to be able to give meaningful pumping to circulate your blood.
From both your personal recollection as well as your review of the medical records of James McGrath, when the patient presented, do you recall what type of a stretcher he was in?
He was in a bucket loader stretcher.
And what is that?
So backboards are typically flat. If you've gone to any swimming pool, you've seen it on the side there, and it's to allow people when they fall down, emergency people, to be able to slide them onto some sort of board and fix their neck and make them secure and seatbelt them in. I don't know why he was in a bucket loader. I'll be honest with you. Maybe there was a lot of things going on at the scene, and that's the only stretcher that they had. But they scooped him up into that, and then they put him onto the regular rolling stretcher. So they brought him in, and we moved the bucket loader over to there's another, so the ambulance, stretcher that fits in the ambulance comes in, they put it side by side with the emergency room stretcher, and then they move the patient over, whether it be in the bucket loader or typically just the backboard, over to that. And then we try to take the backboard off, but he was in such extremis that we didn't even, it was just really scoop done all the way into, and continued CPR.
So you immediately started working on him without even taking
There
him out
was
of the bucket
there was no stoppage whatsoever.
stretcher. Now,
Somebody told us in one of the videos why it's called Lucas. It's some kind of, it's an acronym of sorts, and I forget. It's an assisted breathing machine, but I don't know what the acronym is.
term ED disposition, what does that refer to?
So at the end of the evaluation of care, sometimes we have to decide where we're going to put the patient. So like, for instance, somebody that needs ICU level care, their ED disposition is to the ICU. If they need to be admitted and they are floor level care, meaning they're not as safe, they don't need intensive care, then they go to the surgical or medical floor.
If this is ED disposition expired, what does that refer to?
So that means that the patient is deceased.
May I approach Counsel, Your Honor?
This is Jimmy, the one that had fatal wound. And that's really sad. I know at some point they talk about telling his father. I don't know what we're going to be looking at here. That looks like a body, so I'm getting kind of nervous. Not really sure. Well, that looks like a leg. That was the leg. Phoenix, yes, he was. Apparently because they already said in the ambulance he was asystole and they couldn't get a pulse. I'm just going
Dr.
to go
Connory, showing you was marked as stage 82, right?
forward here.
This is the medical chart of Mr. Unidentified, who's now identified as James McGrath from 5/15/2022.
Did you have an opportunity to review those medical records
I
prior to
did.
testifying here today? And were those records made in the regular course of business of Bridgeport
They
Hospital?
are.
And is it the regular course? Is it the regular course of business for doctors and nurses at Bridgeport Hospital to generate such a report when treating a patient?
It is.
So she's just going to show her the report, kind of what we already went through, because that report she's going to be reading from to go over everything we kind of already know, because we've heard other testimony about him being stabbed, where it was. I will say we're going to hear some cross. And what do you think is going to be brought up? Before I do go on, let's just pause for a moment, because I think it's really easy to just forget the fact that this is someone's child. And it's heartbreaking to think that your kid goes out for the night, he goes to a friend's house, you think he's going to be safe there, and then something like this happens. To me, when I heard that his father was notified that night, it just broke my heart thinking about getting that phone call and the way that they're like, he was expired. I understand it's a medical term. I understand. They're not moving him anywhere. It's over for him, which is so sad. And then I was really nervous what was going to happen here. But this doctor was very, very good at kind of showing that Tommy's level of intoxication, his alcohol level, had nothing to do with his injuries per se, like in and of itself. But we're going to hear that. Let's see. I think I went a little forward on accident. Let me go back. I'm so sorry. Somehow I pushed a button and I went forward. I wanted to be over here.
His dad before we cleaned all of that up.
Final question, Dr. Crombie, from your expertise.
Impossible.
It was impossible for Jimmy to survive that injury unless he had had the injury while he was right in the hospital. Like the stab wound had to happen right there, and they would have to get to him immediately.
Would you like me to begin, Your Honor, or would you like?
Do you have an estimate on how long the cross will be?
I think if Your Honor is okay with going perhaps a little past 3:30, that we should be able to complete the cross-examination.
All
Good afternoon, Dr. Condit.
Good afternoon.
We've never met before.
We have not.
We've never discussed this case before.
We have not.
You are here to tell us today about the things that you did after the events that led to these injuries, correct?
That's correct.
And you were telling us that as part of what you did, that some blood was drawn from Mr. Connory, correct?
Correct.
You didn't know that at the time, but you told us that his blood alcohol level was a 0.125, correct?
That's correct.
And you said that 0.8 is considered impaired, correct?
Correct.
And 0.8 is considered impaired as far as for legal purposes for driving or for medical purposes or both?
Well, it could be a little bit of both. And I believe it's 0.08 when we do the conversion over.
So a 0.08 is too impaired to drive under the law, correct?
Correct.
And is also medically, is that a different sort of level of impairment than what we?
It is.
use-
It
okay.
is. So I guess I should explain that to you. So just like I was saying, like depending on your body mass index, depending on your age, depending on there is a enzyme in our livers called alcohol dehydrogenase, which breaks down the alcohol into the different components. And then the free components are what make us impaired. And depending on how fast those enzymes work, and then the size of our bodies has to do with the depot, and then our bodies, processing through that. The enzymes itself can be affected by multiple different factors, including any meds that you're on. Even if you were to take a Tylenol because you had a sore knee and you were 21 years old, it's going to be a little bit delayed in the metabolism or breakdown of that and clearance of that. In individuals that have a history of utilizing alcohol regularly, they tend to have more of this enzyme around and can clear it quite quickly. So they can seem very functional, despite the fact that the legal limit or what's measured is, significant. There are various tables on this, but there's various different things that affect that. But when this all evolved years ago, legally driving and operating motor vehicles was the 80 deciliters or the 0.08.
I think this is very interesting because we all kind of know that each one of us has a different way of metabolizing not only just alcohol, but food. She's explaining this very well. This is a legal determination. It's a disconnect between anything medical in and of itself, but there are so many factors about what your BAC will be when it's tested. How much time has gone by? How much did you drink? How big are you? How do you metabolize alcohol? Did you take any medication before? So I think that's really good to know. And I think what she's going to say next is even more informative.
In fact, it used to be higher than that, correct?
That's correct.
0.10, and it's been lowered as
That's
we've
correct.
developed more information about the impairment effects of the alcohol, correct?
That's correct.
And when we have a BAC, that number reflects the amount of alcohol that's already been metabolized and is in the bloodstream at that point, correct?
That's correct.
And there's a fairly standard sort of metabolism rate for most people. Is that fair to say?
In general, yes, but just like I was saying with all of those different factors, and it's kind of like dive tables. They create them based on a bunch of different data, and they come up with the metabolism. It's certain. In an hour it should be this, and an hour it should be this, and another hour it should be this.
Have you heard that for a male, about 2 drinks per hour would get you to a 0.08?
It's again, there's some. I have heard that. I don't know if I necessarily think that that's totally accurate because when you say male, it could be a 5'2" male, it could be a 6'7" male. And it could be something that one guy's never had a drink in his life. This guy drinks regularly, so it's completely different.
Age can affect that as well.
Age can affect it, yes.
And you mentioned a dive table. What's a dive table?
For those individuals that do scuba diving, the Navy tested exactly almost similar to alcohol, the amount of nitrogen that is in your blood that precipitates out if you dive a certain depth.
We didn't need to know this part, but
And
we're
they tested
hearing
on
it.
various naval individuals, and then very similar to the alcohol tables, they have a level of clearance per hour, depending on the depth and the time that you were exposed to the oxygen.
Okay. And you told us that a 0.125 would indicate significant impairment, correct?
Well, I wouldn't say it's significant, but it is impaired again.
Okay.
We're talking about Tommy because his BAC was a 0.08.
So you don't recall telling us that that would be significantly impaired?
No, significant is 500,
It was a 125. That's like their scale.
600, which I have seen. That's significant.
500 or 600, that would be close to fatal, would it not?
Depends on the individual again.
A 0.50, half of their blood being alcohol, and that would not be fatal?
So it's not a half. So you
He's about to get schooled.
think 0.5 is 50% of your blood volume. It's actually a measurement of the ethanol or whatever is in your system. So they measure it on an assay, and they actually, it doesn't mean 50% of your blood. It's an assay.
She's like, sir, no.
And at a 0.125, you said that may have some effect on his injuries as far as bleeding or things of that nature?
It has an effect, exactly what I was explaining before, is that it's a diuretic. So what that means is that he's legally drunk. Level of impairment, as we've just discussed, depends on the individual.
So basically they would give him more fluids because he would be dehydrated. But to say that this had anything to do with his actual wounds being caused is beyond me, other than the fact that I think the defense is going to argue everyone was intoxicated, which we already know. But I thought this was interesting to listen to her explain.
Doesn't depend on the individual, is that alcohol signals you to pee out and override your kidney's regular homeostasis. So how that can affect your injuries is that if you're already dry to begin with, you have a certain blood alcohol level that your body's trying to clear. I'm assuming they aren't drinking water in between the alcohol that they're drinking. He's bleeding. And then in addition to that, his kidneys are peeing out, taking some of the intravascular volume out of his body. So that can affect your injuries.
At 0.125, would you also expect that to affect his ability to accurately describe how he'd come by these injuries?
Oh, right. So he's so drunk that he doesn't know how he was injured. That's what he's making the point of.
Again, it depends. When I examined him, he was telling me exactly what was described to him.
Could it affect his perception at that level?
It's hard to say. Again, it just depends.
Depends on the person.
It depends on the person. It's very different.
Would you expect somebody who had only had 2 beers a few hours beforehand to have a 0.125?
It depends. It has to go back to that alcohol dehydrogenase enzyme that I'm talking about, how active it is or how inactive it is.
So off topic, but on topic, I have one of these little devices you can blow into. Don't ask. I got one because I saw a TikTok a while ago about it. And I was like, I want one of those. And I want to just know. I've never had a DUI, not judging anyone who does. This isn't about that. But we have one of these BAC calculators at my house. And it is interesting because when John and I have done little experiments where he drinks a certain amount and I drink a certain amount, our numbers are vastly different. And even as time goes on, we metabolize things differently. Mine will say 0 before his says 0. It's just very interesting. So I found this to be informative.
And then some of it is also just genetically, some people have more active alcohol dehydrogenase than others.
So you're saying that you would expect somebody who had 2 beers a few hours before you saw them to still have a 0.125?
It can happen.
Just 2 beers to get us to 0.125,
Depends on the individual.
even if it was a number of hours beforehand.
It depends. How do you know it was 2 hours before?
I love when she questioned the defense attorney. How do you know it was 2 hours before?
If that's what the person said.
It's hard to say.
It is hard to say, isn't it? It would be unusual. Would you agree with that?
I wouldn't say it's unusual, but it's possible.
And we also talked about a 0.20 blood alcohol content level. You recall that?
I do.
That is more than twice the legal level of impairment of
It
0.08,
is.
correct? And would you consider that to be a significant level of impairment?
It depends on the individual. So if it's a 6'8" football player, maybe not.
When you say if it was a 6'8" football player, why would a 0.20 not be significant impairment?
So again, the way that the law, and I didn't make the law, deemed it is they took an average of individuals' impairments and they measured what their deciliter was. They did a bunch of tests and they said, do this cognitively, move this way. And that's how they came out with a 0.8. And that's now in a larger, more massed individual with a bigger liver, they can metabolize just better. Is the line. And if it happens to be an individual that, you know, has a history or has that genetic predisposition, each one of us is different. We're a mosaic of all of our genes. It depends on what their level of impairment is.
But you would agree that the law has said that 0.08 is
To operate a motor vehicle
impaired
or motor, yes.
or both.
Right. We're not talking about a DUI. So it's almost irrelevant, but I understand what he's doing. He's trying to say these boys were very intoxicated. They both got injured. They were making bad decisions, blah, blah, blah. I mean, in theory.
Or both.
Heavy machinery.
Correct.
And so if this jury is interested in why Mr. Valle did what he did that night, that's not anything that you could help them learn about, is it?
So I am here to describe the 2 patients that I took care of. I don't actually know who Mr. Valle is, I'll be honest with you.
Okay.
But I'm here to talk to you about the injuries that we treated that night and how we intended to save one of the victims.
Remember, he was going to ask every witness that? You can't tell us why. You can't tell us why the defendant did what he did. And finally, we are going to hear from Ryan Hines. This is one I've been waiting for. I want to know, how did this start? What happened that night? He's now 19. I think he said he goes to Alfred State University studying heavy machinery operations. He was in football and baseball. He's working at UPS for the summer. And on the night in question, Ryan was only 16. He was finishing his sophomore year at Shelton High, and him and his friend Griffin, they planned to just hang out. They went to the first party invited by Austin. That was the one on Lazy Brook. They were driven over there by Tanner. It was 7 or 8 o'clock, still daylight outside, he said. And this is when Jack Snyder, one of the St. Joe's kids, and Tyler De Silva were trying to get them to leave. They didn't want Ryan and Griffin there. They were questioned about why they were there, even though they said, Austin said we can come. Now, to be fair, Austin was intoxicated that night, from what we've heard in testimony, but he did allegedly tell them they were allowed to come by, and he had known Austin for a long time. They had been friends from back in the day. They played sports together. So let's hear from him what happened that night, because we haven't heard how this all started and heard it from him himself.
Got there.
So we showed up there. We were just walking up the driveway, and then the garage door was open, and we just heard music and noise, and we walked into the garage, and that's about as far as we got in.
Now, when you got to Lazy Brook Road, were you drinking a beer down the driveway?
Oh, no, I still was only at 2 beers.
And you say you got as far as the garage. Why did you only get as far as the garage?
Because as we're about to walk into like what you would like the door from the garage, like into the house, there's 3 or 4 people getting kicked out, it seemed like, of that door and getting told to leave.
And do you know who those people were?
At the time, no.
Do you know who they are now?
Yes, I do.
And who are they?
The defendant, Jack Snyder, and Tyler De Silva.
And you say the defendant. Who is the defendant?
Raul Valle.
And is Raul Valle in the courtroom today?
Yes, he is.
And what is he wearing?
Black suit.
And can you please point him out for the record?
He's right there.
Your Honor, may the record reflect that the witnesses identified the defendant in this case?
Court will allow the record to reflect that the witness has identified Mr. Valle.
Now, when you say you were trying to get into the house and the defendant and his friends were being what you deemed being kicked out of the party, tell me what happened at that time.
Him and his friends started just questioning us who we were and asking what our business was there.
Apparently, and we hadn't heard this before, the defendant, Tyler De Silva, and Jack Snyder were getting kicked out of Austin's. And while they're getting kicked out and walking out, according to Ryan, he's walking in with Griffin. And all of a sudden, that group of 3 is like, what are you doing here? Almost like, why are you allowed to be here and we're not, type of thing, when they're not even from St. Joe's. They're from Shelton High. So he wants to know, why are you guys here? Who are you?
And what was your response to that?
Austin had invited us over. I played football with Austin for a year in 8th grade for Shelton. Became pretty good friends with him. And he had told me and Griffin that night, come over, I'm having a party, come over.
When you got to Lazy Brook, did you notice if there was any drinking going on at that house?
Oh, yes, there was.
And when you responded to the defendant and his friends telling them that you were there because you were invited by Austin, what was their reaction to that?
They didn't care. They didn't seem to ask Austin who we were. They didn't care. They weren't worried about if we were invited or not. They weren't worried about that.
Was the defendant saying anything to you in particular during those moments?
No, not really. It was more of Snyder that was saying stuff to me.
And at some point in time, how long would you think that interaction between you and the defendant and his friends lasted for?
About 2 or 3 minutes.
And then at some point in time, withdrawn. Did this interaction happen inside the garage
all
area?
In the garage, all in the garage.
At some point in time, did the interaction between you and the defendant and his friends extend to outside the garage?
Yes, it did.
Tell us about how that happened.
So basically, it started with Snyder asking me for a beer because I had my 12-pack in my hands. And I actually said, yeah, sure, you can have a beer. And then the defendant asked me for a beer also. I said, yeah, sure, you can have a beer. I gave each of them a beer. And they were just like, they weren't okay with that. They started getting very argumentative with us, still wanting to know who we were, why we're there, and insisting that I give up my whole entire pack of beers for them.
Can you imagine that all of this was about beer? All of this is over a 12-pack of beer.
And what happened after they insisted that you give up your beers?
Like I said, I gave each of them 1 beer. was just like, is that all right? Like, can we just be cool about this? And for a second, it seemed like, yeah. They were like, yeah, sure. It's cool. It's fine. And we're like, all right, cool. Like, can we get by? And then all of a sudden I get my beer grabbed from out of my hands by Snyder. And then all of a sudden me and Griffin are getting pushed out, not on our own.
Phoenix asks, curious as to if the defendant was sober. Don't think so, because he was holding a alcohol bottle in one of the photos.
And how were you getting pushed out?
Literally got grabbed and just started being walked out by Snyder out of the garage into the driveway.
And once you got out into the driveway, what was your reaction to how you were being treated?
I was in shock. Like I wasn't trying to be an aggressor in any sort of way. I just had given them a beer, trying to be cool, make some friends, whatever. But they were very just like, fuck you, blah, blah, blah. Who are you? All this, that, and another thing.
And at some point in time, did you get angry with him?
Yes, I did. I got upset with Snyder, and I simply said to him, listen, like, that's not how this is going to happen. And I told him, like, I'll fight you for my beer right now.
And so when you told him you would fight for your beer, what did you do at that point?
He said, okay, sure. I don't know where or who had my beer at that point in time. And I kind of just put my hands up, getting ready to fight him.
Now, prior to you getting ready to fight Snyder, do you remember what he was wearing at that point in time?
He was wearing, I believe, some sort of Nike hoodie and some shorts.
Do you remember what the defendant was wearing?
Yeah, he had a Ole Miss baseball shirt on.
Show you State's Exhibit 53.
I was thinking about that because I always have to like scratch my nose or scratch my face when I'm doing lives. And I know it can be distracting, but I was thinking, wow, I don't know what I would do if I had to blow my nose or scratch my face or do anything on the stand knowing a camera's in front of me. It must be nerve-wracking.
Show you State's 53. Is this what you recall the defendant and Snyder looking like that night?
Yes.
You see that the defendant has some helmet on?
Yeah.
Did he have that on when you initially talked?
Whole time.
Okay. And he has some type of neck pillow on?
Yeah.
Did he have that on when you spoke to him in the garage?
I don't recall.
So when you get out into the driveway, you square it up with Jack. What does that mean? You square it up?
I put my fist up, like just kind of saying, all right, let's go. Let's do this.
And did Jack, in fact, put his hands up?
Yes, he did.
And at some point in time, what happened after that?
I'm kind of looking at Jack, just like kind of walking closer to him, like about to go and punch him. But then it happened so fast where I get hit, like right here, I get hit. And I'm thinking it's Jack that hit me. Like it happened so fast, but then I'm like, whoa, like he's far away. But it just instincts took over, and I just went and tackled Snyder to the ground.
And at some point in time, how long would you say the fight lasted for?
30 seconds.
And do you know who you were fighting with at that moment?
I was just trying to fight Snyder.
And do you know if anybody else was fighting with you?
I felt a lot of blows to the back of my head multiple times, over and over, repeated, getting like what felt like being punched in the back of my head many times while I was just on top of Snyder. And then all of a sudden I'm getting ripped off by my neck, and that was about it.
I'm going to show you what's been marked as State's Exhibit 58. Have you seen the video from the fight at Lazy Brook?
Yes, I have.
Remember, this is the first fight, not the second fight. Somebody put a thumbs down on my live. I always wonder like who comes to my live and put a thumbs down.
Stop right there. So I'm gonna give a pointer up there.
Yeah.
So this is frame 47. The individual here in the red sweatshirt. Do you know who that is?
That's Snyder.
Okay. And the guy here in the green sweatshirt and the black shorts.
That's me.
Do you know who this is behind you?
That's the defendant.
Okay. Just play a little bit. Right there.
So he's trying to fight Jack Snyder in the red. And while he's doing that, he is punched in the side of the face, thinking that it's Jack at the time, but it's really the defendant.
Frame 100. This individual right here to the left. Do you know who that is?
That's De Silva.
And then also Tyler De Silva is joining in.
Now, after this fight ended, What did you do?
I got my beer back and I left.
Do you know how you got your beer back?
I believe the lifer's mother gave it back to me.
The mom gave it back to him. So we've already heard that after this, they went to a friend's house, but they were in a group chat. Now, Ryan says he wasn't involved in the chatting. It was Griffin that was doing that. And we know that Griffin challenged, so to speak, these boys to meet them at the next party. And Griffin and Ryan went over there. They arrived at Tyler Rich's. This is where the second altercation occurred. And there was about 20 or 30 friends there, he said. And that's where he was explaining what happened to him, that he got jumped at this other party. And now we're going to hear about that second confrontation. So let's fast forward a bit. Okay, let me see.
Also, were you also made aware of it through the group chat?
Just other individuals in the house.
And when you were made aware that they were here, what did you do as a result?
Walked outside.
And how did you walk outside?
Through the cellar doors that I came in from.
And when you walked outside, I'm going to show you this exhibit here. See, it's 49. When you walked outside, can you tell us where did you walk from the house?
Through the side where the cellar doors are, and then kind of through the driveway, and then the car was parked roughly right in front of the driveway.
So if I correct, you walked this way for all intents and purposes with this exhibit. There's a blue truck here.
Yeah.
You walked down the driveway,
Mhm.
and you're saying the car was parked somewhere in front of the driveway?
Yeah, maybe a little bit farther back, but yeah, right about there.
Was it parked on the side of the road?
No, it was more like right in the middle of the road.
So was the car parked somewhere around here?
Yeah.
Okay, so if the record can reflect, the lower portion of this exhibit, just to the left of the trees on the right side of Laurel Glen Road, towards the middle of the road.
Noted for the record. Thank you.
And when you saw this car on the road, what did you notice about it? Did you notice what type of car it was?
Yeah, it was an SUV.
And showing you State's Exhibit 30, does that seem to be what you saw that night?
Yes.
And which way was it facing? Was it facing towards Adams or was it facing towards Farmhouse? Exhibit 1's behind you if you want to.
It was facing towards Farmhouse.
Okay. You need to use this. And did you approach this vehicle?
Oh, yes, I did.
And when you approached the vehicle, what side of the vehicle did you approach?
The driver's side.
And how far away did you get from the vehicle when you stopped, when you walked up to it? How far away?
I was right next to it.
And did you talk to anybody in the vehicle?
No.
Did you notice anybody in the vehicle?
Yes.
Who did you notice?
I noticed Snyder driving, and then I noticed De Silva, Raul, and Mackenzie Traficanti.
Did you notice anybody else in the vehicle?
A few others, but I didn't know who they were.
And can you describe, did you have, at some point in time with Ron, how many of you approached the vehicle?
10, 15.
And when you approached the vehicle, did anybody have a conversation with anybody in that vehicle?
Yes.
What was the conversation like? Not what was said, but what was it like?
It was, I don't really know how to explain it. Like, I feel like there was multiple different conversations going on throughout the vehicle. Like, I feel like someone was having a conversation with the front passenger, someone was having a conversation with the driver, somebody was having a conversation with the people in the back seats. So I'm not really too sure what was said, but it was, the overall tone of it was totally like chill and like normal. And then there were parts of it that were aggressive. And
why did it get aggressive?
Because they had jumped me.
And did you say anything to anybody when you were there?
No, not that I recall.
Do you recall if the defendant said anything to anybody?
No.
Now, at some point in time, you said it got aggressive?
Yeah.
And when it got aggressive, tell the ladies and gentlemen of the jury what happened when it was getting aggressive.
Cans started getting thrown at the car. And then the car started whipping up and down the road.
Now, when you say cans got thrown at the car, who threw cans?
Multiple different people.
Did you throw any cans?
Yes, I did.
And what kind of cans did you throw?
I threw my Bud Lights that I had still.
Were they empty cans or were they full cans?
They were full cans.
Okay. Do you recall where you threw the can?
I believe I was on the other side of the car at this point, so on the passenger side now. And I believe I hit the door, the passenger side door. And then the other can I threw completely missed the car because I believe the car was moving at the time.
So you see this defect in the windshield here?
Yeah.
Did you recall doing that yourself?
I did not do that, no.
So if that was done that night, that was done by somebody else?
Yes.
If it was done that night?
Yeah.
We do know that it did happen that night. We heard that. We're going to hear that further because in the next video we do, we're going to go over the defendant's friends. So one of the defendant's friends that was in this vehicle is going to come forward. They're going to be on the states. one of the state's witnesses. Didn't want to like spoil or anything, but I'm just saying that did happen. We've been wondering, and it did happen that night.
Now, after the beer cans were being thrown, other things were being thrown at the car. Did anybody else put their hands on the car? Was there anybody else doing anything else to the car?
Not that I recall, no.
And you said the car at some point left?
Yeah.
And where did it go?
Just up and down the road.
When you say up and down the road, if you're looking at State's Exhibit 1,
It was just going back and forth like this way.
and when it was going back and forth, what, if anything, was the car doing?
Going really fast.
Were they throwing anything from the car?
No.
You don't remember any of that?
No.
Where were you when the car was going up and down the road?
In the driveway.
And were you paying attention to it the whole time, or were you talking to other
much.
people?
A mix. Like I would pay attention to it, then I'd talk to the person next to me, something like that.
Now, when you were initially at the car, do you recall who was with you out of all your friends?
No, I wasn't worried about any of that.
Why can't you recall who was with you at the time?
I just wasn't looking for who was with me. I just knew it was my friends, people that I knew weren't going to do anything to me.
Do you know if Tyler Rich was there?
No.
Do you know if Griffin Marcinzik was there?
No.
Do you know if Ricky Fiola was there? Now, when the car went up and down the road and you were in the driveway, you said?
Yeah.
You said you were just talking to your friends, kind of paying attention. Were you kind of looking down the road?
Yeah.
What were you doing? Okay. And you said you were talking to your friends. What friends were you talking to? You remember? Why can't you remember?
Just normal conversation. Just can't remember.
Can't remember the particular person we were talking to?
I forgot that we don't even get to cross today. Forgot about that. I thought we were going to get to cross, but we're not going to get there. We are going to talk about what happened when they came back out.
When he was asking about where Aiden King was.
I just was like, don't worry about it. I'm right here. What's your problem? Like, why are you back here?
Yeah.
This is when he went back inside, realized that they were there, came back, and now they were asking for Aiden King, which is another person we already heard from.
And what was his response?
Where's Aiden King? And then I caught like, I was like, why do you have your shirt on your head like that? I was saying that. And then I pulled the shirt off of his head, not like hard or anything like that, but I just grabbed it, I pulled it off of his head. And then all of a sudden like that, it was just a totally different person. And it like just got crazy.
What do you mean?
Like the defendant was really calm and just quiet and was just like, where's Aiden King? Where's Aiden King? Where's Aiden King? And I'm, like I said, I don't know. I don't care. Like, I'm right here. What's the problem here? Pulling the shirt off of his head. And then the second I pulled the shirt off of his head, just starts freaking out. Like, get very upset and argumentative and forgot about Aiden King and did worry only about me and the people next to me.
And when you say argumentative, what was he doing?
Just like getting real fast and just like, oh, like, you took my shirt off my head. Like, like there's going to be a problem now, blah, blah, blah. Like, just all types of stuff like that.
Do you recall when you were talking to the defendant in the yard, do you recall who was near you at the time?
Yeah, Nikki DeJesus and Ty Wood right next to me.
And do you recall, if you can, was there anybody near Tyler DeSilva?
Oh, no, I wasn't worried or paying attention to Tyler DeSilva at that point in time.
And when the defendant started to react the way he did and get crazy, as you said, what happened? What if anything happened next?
Me, Nikki, and Ty immediately were just like, we're from me to the microphone at this point now, away from him, just looking him right in the eyes, and we're just chirping each other back and forth.
And when you say chirping each other, what does that mean?
Talking shit.
Okay. And how long did that last for?
30 seconds, 45 seconds.
At any point during your chirping back and forth, did you ever tell the defendant to leave?
Oh, no.
So after about 30 or 40 seconds, what happens next?
Out of nowhere, really, Tyler Rich punched him in the face.
Do you know why he punched him in the face?
He was on his property. I'm not really sure other than that, though.
But how did you see Tyler Rich punch him in the face?
I just saw like his fist and just hit him in the face.
Come over across. Where was Tyler?
Well, I don't know where Tyler was. I just like literally like I was looking the defendant right in his eyes, like right in his face. Like that's all I was looking at. I was locked in on that, and Tyler Rich's fist just punches him.
How do you know it was Tyler's fist?
I figured that out after the fact.
So you didn't know it at the time?
No, at the time.
But it was one of your friends that punched the defendant in the face?
Yes.
And when that happened, what happened after that?
I kind of it's like weird from there. Like I just kind of go at the defendant and I punch him in the face like 2 times.
And when you did that, did the defendant engage you?
Yes, he did.
And can you tell us a little bit about how
so
he
like he was stumped, like he's like when he got punched in the face, he stumbled back and just kind of fell. And then that's where like I kind of like got over him and I punched him in the face. And then all of a sudden I just feel like a weird sharp pain in my side. And I just kind of went like this and I went like this and I looked down to this and I see him with his fist clenched up like this and kind of like his shoulder and like bicep area right here were like held back by something, but he was going like this. and I'm on you can say I was like on top of him at this point, but he's going like this, and I just see like a jabbing motion towards my side, and that's where I felt like the stick right prior, and then all of a sudden I'm just like I gotta get away, like I gotta get out of here, and I get off and I just walk away.
He was stabbed multiple times in the trunk of his body, just so you know.
And how many times would you say the defendant hit you?
Oh,
Do you recall?
I mean, I got stabbed 3 times, but I don't know. He was just going and going. Like it was not like he wasn't trying to hit me in a certain spot. It was just like just jabbing over and over and over, just trying to poke me basically.
That is terrifying. And that's why I wanted to play so much of this and I didn't stop. Yes, they were in a fight. They came there, told to leave multiple times, engaged in a fight. On the ground, someone's over him, he's over him, and he's what seems like erratically just jabbing.
And once that happened, you said you had to walk away.
Yeah, I just like, I don't know, like some instinct in me was just like, get up, get off, like get out of there.
And when that happened, how did you feel?
I was just like dazed, and it's like really like blurry and just like, I don't know. It's honestly that entire part of the night like is the like least like there I am, I would say.
Okay. And at some point in time, what are you doing in the yard after this happens?
I realized that De Silva is in a fight with his own like group of people, and
So this occurred essentially before what we see in that video where everyone's on top of De Silva. So the defendant is fighting with Ryan. De Silva is fighting with another group that we've seen that video many, many times, and my brain is fried right now.
I kind of just stood there and watched.
And do you recall whether or not you engaged in that fight at all?
No.
Now, how long would you say that whole fight took place?
A minute.
And when the fight was going on, what kinds of things do you recall seeing about kind of watching the De Silva fight?
What do you mean by that?
Well, I mean, you kind of just stood there and you said and watched, right? What were you watching? What were you seeing?
Just people throwing punches, I guess, and that's really all I can recall about it.
When you were engaged with the defendant, do you know whether or not there was more than one person engaged with him?
No.
It was just you and him?
Yeah, from what I know.
And at some point in time, when you stop, when you back off from the defendant, do you see where he goes?
No.
Now, when you recall, if you can recall the De Silva fight, do you recall how many people were engaged with De Silva?
3, 4 people.
3, 4. After the fight ends, at some point, do you realize that you're injured?
So
This is terrifying to me when he realizes he's been stabbed.
like kind of as De Silva's getting like pushed out, my buddy Ty Wood was right next to me again, and he's like, dude, are you okay? And he's seen my clothes and like pointed it out, and I had already started to bleed through my sweatshirt and my shorts. And that's also when I heard my lung collapse in my chest, and I don't know how to describe it, but like it was like bubbles coming from out of my chest, and I just immediately got super like scared, and I didn't know what was going on.
And when you say you were bleeding,
Yeah.
did you say anything how did you realize that you had been injured?
I just kind of lifted up my shirt and looked, and I was like, holy shit, like I was stabbed.
And when you realized you were stabbed, at that moment, did you hear anybody scream anything?
No.
Did you see anything else at that point? What was going on?
I kind of just went into like, I don't even know how to describe it. Like I thought I was going to die. Like I heard the bubbles come from out of my chest, and I just immediately thought the worst. And I walked myself back in through the cellar doors into the basement and sat down and was like, I want water.
Okay.
So this is what I was going to show you today. We went a little bit over to almost 2.5 hours. There was a lot. I didn't want to cut him off. I wanted him to tell his story so that we can understand what was happening. He admits these were the kids that gave him a hard time at the other party. They were called over there. They knew they were going to fight. They did tell them to leave. Other people told them to leave, especially Tyler Rich, because this was his house. His parents weren't home. He didn't want this to happen. It didn't seem like he did. When they didn't leave, it looks like they were both engaged in a fight. One between Ryan, who had previously been jumped by the defendant, right? Had been hit by the defendant, hit with a motorcycle helmet by the defendant. So it makes sense why they would kind of face off. And that was happening on one side. And on the other side, it seems that Tyler De Silva, Tyler Rich, and Ty Wood are fighting. So we're seeing that in the majority of the videos. We're not really seeing the Ryan fight as much, but they're simultaneously going on. And in that time frame, the defendant has stabbed Ryan. We don't know who was stabbed first, what the chain of events was, but it seems like Ryan might have been the first to be stabbed, considering he talks about engaging the defendant, them being in a fight, and then him standing there. So while he's standing there after the fact in shock and not knowing what's going on, maybe the fight continued with the defendant, and that's when Tommy and Jimmy were harmed. I don't know yet. Maybe we're going to hear from somebody that has a better perspective, maybe somebody that wasn't injured, who has maybe a clearer mind. But this is a lot. It's a lot to take in. It's a lot for anybody, but especially teenagers to have to go through, in my opinion. I'm sure a lot of you feel the same way, especially when it all started over beer. And I think once we get into the next day of trial and the next day of trial, you're going to have a better perspective on the defendant's actions, the defendant's, I don't want to say state of mind because we can't know that, but the perspective of people who are in that vehicle. And when we start hearing that, I think it paints a really good picture of his intention. And that's how I feel from seeing what I've seen. But of course, if anyone's watching on the replay, leave your comments. I'll try to get to as many as I can. And like always, thank you for being here with me. Be on the lookout for a lot of stuff that's going on. Main channel is going to have a new video on Monday. Dark Livity is going to have a video coming up as well. It's going to be a 2-parter. Some people like it, some people don't. My wedding is in 3 weeks. I have to go to the doctor tomorrow to have a little procedure done over here. If you haven't noticed, I've been always like turning my face this way. That's because of that. Got a little problem going on. Gonna fix that. Wanted to wait till the end of the live to kind of let you know what was going on in my life. But I'm glad all of you are here. Wish me luck tomorrow. I don't like anything when it has to be near my face or my eyes, but just wish me luck, that everything goes well and that I'm not maimed for my wedding. But I will see you tomorrow if everything goes well and I can make it. Thank you so much for being here. See you soon.